And I might, you know what I noticed is in that school, when they're bringing that forth, they're keeping those hands inside.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they're making it bounce. That's how they're playing.
Yeah, and
quarter half by having a Leo. Is doing a lot of the flat.
because, you know, I'm still, you know,
And they're rolling coverage.
I like to 3x1. I kind of like the special, you know what I mean, now that he cleaned up how that mic. What do you think about it in terms of 4 strong, 6 stretches?
You guys talked about it. Just as far as that.
Oh, no question. Thank you.
I just got confused the other day.
No, actually, all that stuff, you know, it's like hearing it the second time.
Yeah, let me follow along. I had a little base where I would draw it and going like this.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll start.
That's
My name is Dave Aranda. I'm over at LSU right now. I'm a linebacker coach. I coach on defense over there. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you all, man. I love clinics. And some of y'all I've talked to before. Some of you I haven't. You know, I never played football coming up. I remember distinctly, man, the Pee Wee football. I wanted to go out for it, and I was the kid that, you know, came with like the jeans on and like the, you know, everyone's looking at that kid going, what is this? You know what I mean? You don't fit here, man. You know what I mean? My parents, I remember, my parents were first generation from Mexico, and so my dad spoke more Spanish than knew about football or anything. He knew about Joe Montana, right? And so I never really did any of that stuff. I know I wanted to be inclined to it, so my thing was books. And so I would like all the AFC manuals. I think I got an AFC manual by my bedside with Coach's picture. He was, you know, on the cover, and I still get them now. But I remember,
nightmares.
Yeah, no, man. Tell you what, I remember trying to coach from books, you know, trying to and taking notes off of books and everything. I remember going to clinics and not having any money, and borrowing money from my parents and buying all the DVDs, you know what I mean, of you know, such and such attacking 3-3-5 defense and, you know what I mean, tackling techniques and so I still have all that stuff. And so, you know, the fellowship of a clinic and the sharing of ideas is awesome. So like I said, I'm excited to be here. You know, I think what I wanted to start with talking about, and I'm gonna get to the football pretty detailed. I've got, you know, right now we're in winter condition. So they passed the rule for us to where we can have walkthroughs and all that. And I imagine you're all doing that now, so we've got that. I can show you I'm gonna go over the installs we're doing for the walkthroughs. I'm gonna show you the kind of progression and everything with some of our base calls, so you guys will have that. You guys are welcome to it after we go through it, okay? But prior to getting to that, I wanted to talk about teaching. I wanted to talk about learning, and then I wanted to talk about you know, how I've gone about studying offenses. I've gone about trying to plan for adjustments and all that. I mean, I know that's something I'm always really interested in. I think it's one thing to always kind of look at the end result, and it's interesting to me to see an end result of a similar thing, but not know what went into it. You know what I mean? Not know how much time was spent, what was the emphasis on it, how much was it talked about, how much was it read, how much, you know, how much was it loved, man, really, right? And so that makes all the difference in the world. And so I think right when you make a statement like that, you know, less is more. You know what I mean? And I believe that. And so I think I wanted to talk about some of that. And so I think everything that we try to do, so well, let me say this so also, Okay, and some of this is with, or a lot of it now, I'm colored by the last 2 years at LSU. I mean, you cannot be any, I don't feel what, you know, a great example though, this is another one. My family were all vacationing and stuff. We had the Mardi Gras break, so they, you know, Louisiana schools, you're off for a week, you know, and so they didn't know school. And so we went out vacation, we're like in Utah, and we're coming back, and if you were to be at the airport with your family, I got two little girls and a little boy, and we're walking through the Utah airport, and you land in the New Orleans airport. Can't be any different airports in the world, man. I mean, they cannot be any different. And I think that's a good, I mean, that's one example. And I think coaching at Wisconsin, right, and then coaching at LSU, it's hard to be any different than that. Very difficult, you know. And so I think I see it all the time, and this is probably speaking too truthful to y'all, but I see it all the time. I see Big Ten coaches. I see coaches from academic spots where generally you tell a kid this, he's going to do that, right? You make this adjustment, he's going to execute it, and they go to SEC schools and they have a hard time, you know what I mean? Because of this and because of that. You see it all the time. And so I think there's something to be said for, we play it like this here, now that we're over here, we've made these adjustments, we play it like that, because our people are different, man. And not only are your coaches different, but your players are different. You know, I remember discussions I would have at Wisconsin, okay? And this is not speaking, so this is not saying this is bad or this is good, I'm just saying it's different, okay? And I think there's some people that kind of just push through and knock doors down on the difference part. There's other people that kind of flow with it and adjust with it, you know what I mean? And I guess the point I'm trying to make. At Wisconsin, I remember we would interview coaches, and we would be talking ball for 3-4 hours, much like what DJ was just doing. And at the very end of it, we would go, and so you recruit Houston? You've been in Texas some? Oh, yeah, great. Okay, and so then that was it, man. That was the interview. That was my part of it anyways, you know what I mean? At LSU, for a while, man, football's kind of come last. Where do you recruit? Who have you recruited? You know what I mean? What area are you from? You know what I mean? And the football piece is last. I think, kind of, again, speaking probably out of turn, I think that's why there's such an advent of analysts. I think a lot of times the coaches are doing the recruiting and the analysts are doing the coaching. I think there's a fair amount of that. I think you look at the Big Ten and you look at people that have identities. You play Iowa, you know what you're going to get. You play Wisconsin, you know what you're going to get. I think they've got coaches that can really teach. They've got players that can really learn, and you develop into an identity. And I think some of the spots where I'm at right now, the league that I'm in, and the people that we play, I think you've got guys that maybe have a hard time with teaching progressions, maybe have a hard time with learning. And so now all of a sudden, hey, for this week, we're going to run this play for you. And next week, hey, we're going to run this play for you. You guys see what I'm saying? It's more like that. Okay? And so I think you got to be able to move when it's like that, man. You got to be able to adjust. You know what I'm saying? Wisconsin, we'd be in a meeting, and we'd be talking defense. Okay? And we had a couple of coordinators in there, previous guys, so I would bring up something. I go, you know what, we're going to run this. We're going to run tight forward versus this motion. We could play it like this. This is how we've done it. Now, if we do it like this, here's the strengths, A, B, C. Here's the weaknesses. Now, if we don't do it like this, we could do it this way. And DJ runs it like this. Here's some film of it. Now, the strengths of it are this. If you do it like this, though, then you could be hurt by this other stuff. What do you guys think? And it'd be down the room. The guys would be giving opinions, doing all of it. When I got to LSU, you know, the coaches that we had, I think were probably top 3 recruiters in the country in the room, D-line, linebacker, and DB. And I started the meeting like that, and what do you think? And it was just silence, man. You know what I mean? And I think it hit me after that they just want to be told what to do, Dave. You know, Dave, tell me what to do. So I can go out and get it done, and I can get out to recruiting. And I think that's the truth, you know? And so I think that, what do you do when you're in like that? How do you teach if it's that way so that they get it, right? And how do they make, right, if it's a kind of a business type thing where you're in here, you're new, You know, last year we had a guy that was new. The year before we had a guy that was new too, right? And so, you know, I'm gonna recruit these 5 guys, and I'm gonna get my bonus. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Right? How do I get it to where I'm gonna be an advocate for you, and I'm gonna help sell? This is our defense. I mean, how do you? That's a jungle, man, right now, right? How do you do that? And so that's the stuff I want to talk to you to begin with, is all that, because I think that's real. And then we get to the football, because I think if you don't have the other stuff, if you're not tight with all of it, then the other, it does don't matter. I mean, it don't matter. And I wish it would. You know, I mean, I think the list of calls that I had, right, a couple of years ago were like this, and now they're like this. And so I'm hoping we can build that back up. But we've been fighting other fights, you know, spending time on other stuff. And so I guess I wanted to talk to you about that, because I don't got nothing else to talk about. You know, I mean, it's none of that. All right, let's start over here. Let's say this is, I have a lot of these books right here. These are all my notes, and so like, this is how I start. So we're talking about, let's say we're talking about preparing for an opponent. And I just want to take you through it. There's kind of, you know, I don't have like a sheet or anything with it. I want to take you through the book, and you kind of see how it goes. And so, you know, I've always been a hard learner, man. I have not, you know, there's certain guys, and I think it kind of lends to a personality of certain guys, and when you tell them something, right, and maybe you're quick with it, they got it, and they just can roll with it, and there's like you can tell there's a confidence in them and everything else, and I am completely not that way. I mean, someone told me something like, well, does he mean this? He was kind of in a good mood, or it could mean that. I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I'm like that. And so like, if I did play football, I would probably not be any good. You know what I mean? And so you wanted, I think, but I think that being that way helps with some of the breaking down of people, the diagnosing, you know what I mean? As opposed to just the, hey, I got it, let's go. All right, so this is the start of it right here. And so here's an example. We played Notre Dame in the bowl game. And so generally what I do is I watch every game. All right, and I'll roll through it, and I'll tag these plays, and I got to draw them. So this is just a bunch of drawings. And these are things that's like right away, what strikes me is they're in slot a bunch for numbers. They're play action pass scissors, right? There is some pistol, right? I've noticed pace, right? They got tongue screen. So I'm just drawing up things as I see them. All right, and so if you were to watch a game doing this, it probably takes just under an hour, 45 minutes or so to get it through. But here's 2x2. This showed up real quick, and this became an issue in our game right away. This was a concept form. Was the 2x2 box in the boundary with the Z close to the Y right here. So if you're in quarters, do you treat that like a box? Right. If you're in 3 deep and you're trying to match verticals, do you zone that now? Right, and not match the verticals, right? And so all of that became a concept. Quarterback run, right? And so they're creating this nub, and so like this right here, I think was a formation we saw quite a bit, right? Some form of tight trips, whether we call this a sling trips, but tight trips, and over here they're creating it, right? So they like the numbers, they like the pass strength over here, they like the run strength over there. Right, and so this thing just goes on. So there's fly sweep, there's 3x7, right, with this under route, right, and I'm seeing the concepts I think that stick out. I'm writing them on this page, and so there is a bunch of games that were just like that. So this goes all the way through, and so here's Notre Dame, Georgia, right. There's tight trips again, right. There's the bluff play, right. Here's some play action that they got, right, and right away. We see this right here. So I think when I look back at this year, the play of the year for me that struck me on offense that we saw that we really didn't see before was counter. Either OT or counter CT, reading the backside. And that just creates angles problems when you're in a 3-4. I was talking about it with DJ and all them before. Okay? If we were to get one, our language would be pin and pull. If they were to pull the frontside guard, frontside tackle, right, and that tight end with the block down on the 4-eye, I mean, I'm hoping we can fit that. You know, man, the gaps move from in here and they're over here. You know, a lot of times, depending on where your backside linebacker is, if he's pushed over there, he's got to be able to track the flow of the back to pick up the pull. So there is that issue. You know what I'm saying? Because the pull ain't in front of his face. Okay? So there is that. right? But I feel like we should fit that. There is an angles problems with that. The angle problems become anytime you're in a tight front, 4-eye, right, 0-4-eye, and the tight end's blocking down on the front side linebacker, and you got two pullers to the outside. Now there's leverage problems, okay? And so, you know, part of these, I mean, I think it's always interesting. I love listening to DJ speak because DJ sees those problems and he addresses it with the coverage, and I've always addressed it with the front. You know what I mean? And so I know, like, I'm always nervous when we get into just 9-man spacing. So I think, like, when we get into that look and it's 2-by-2, I'm kind of like that, you know. And so we play everything with a lot of 8-man spacing. So even when it's like a pro look, right? Anytime we can get to 8-man spacing, we want to get to it. We want to get to a fox player, somebody in the post, okay, as much as we can, right? And so, you know, once you play it like that, though, they got angles on you. You know, if you play tight, and so now you got to do something. So, you know, there are issues. How are you addressing it? Is it with the back end? Is it with the front end? Right. Right. So like, so this is Georgia. I thought Georgia played them really good. But you could see some of these angles. Here's an example of those angles. And so what Georgia would do is, and it was always interesting to watch them play, is they'd stay in tight no matter what. Right? So there'd be 4 guys out there. There'd be a 4-man surface. There'd be a 3-man surface. They're in tight. So you can see the angles that they got right here. So the angles are bad. Okay, right? And they would bust through it. Right? Here's another example of a tight front. Right? Bringing tackles. This would be another thing we saw quite a bit. Was tackles pulls as opposed to guard pulls with tight fronts. Okay, and I think all of those are things you get when you sit in tight and there is no movement. Right? Okay. Right. Here's buck sweep. There's both guards. So this is a great example of a play. So right here. So this is a problem play for us. All right. If they seal the front side guy and they pull both guys out, our angles are bad. There's another example of it. So what this is showing to me is Georgia's lined up and played in tight, and they don't care. You know what I mean? They busted through it. Okay. Let's see. All right. Some more examples in there. Right, split boot. So these are all just problem plays. So anyways, this thing goes on for quite a bit, right? So these are all games. So that's all, right? From that then, right? The idea becomes now what's the must list? And I think I've got it on here. What the must list is going to become are going to be the concepts that we have to address. Okay, and so like let's see here. Let's stop with pass protection. All right, and so like a must list for most teams is going to be, all right, X off, X over, right, empty, formation sideline, you know what I mean, bunch, stacks, you know, quarterback run, fly motions, right, ghost motions, you know what I'm saying, wildcat, all right, tackle over, okay, buck sweeps, right, counter OTs, things where they can seal front side and pull guys outside. That would be a general starting list. So then from there, it comes identifying those, making those into a cut-up, and then I study those, okay? At other places, we would study that as a staff. You know what I mean? We would sit in there and pull it up and look at it. At LSU, I've done that on my own, right? And then we usually meet for an hour, I'll kind of what I'm doing here. I'll show them this. Hey, we're going to get to some of those concepts in a second. Here's the issues, here's what they put us in, here's, I think, how we got to play it, and we'll go, okay. And then the GAs will come and make it look nice in a Visio format or something like that, and then we'll go and rep it, okay? Right? And so we're in the past. So what that's saying is, what we're not doing is watching every play. You know what I mean? We're not watching the games. We're not watching 1st and 10 cut-ups. You know what I'm saying? Right? We're not doing that. We're watching the core, you know, tackle overs, X off, X overs, right? Quarterback runs. You know, we're watching those things, spending time on that. And I'm addressing that prior, okay? Now, there's coaches on the staff that are responsible, like I imagine all you guys do, right? Short yardage, goal line, put it down. So they're studying that on their own, so we're hitting it that way. You know what I mean? okay? But I remember when I first started, we would sit back and watch a 2nd and 10 cut up and all that. And then we would watch, you know, here's play action pass on the left hash, and we watch that, and we don't have the time really to do that anymore. All right, this is pass protection. I wanted to talk about this because the guy that was here I thought was a really good coach. I thought this guy was the toughest guy. He just got a job with the Bears, I want to say. I think he went back to the Bears. The whole line coach from Notre Dame. And so typically with this, I talk about pass protection. I think some of you guys have probably heard this, but let me talk about this real quick. With pass protection, we get fan duel, we get slide. Those are really what you get. So like if we're a 3-4 team and we're going to be fan duel protection, our offense now is going to be fan duel, right? Because we've got some pro guys coming into our offense, right? The fan duel mindset is, hey, as the O-line coach is, hey, I'm going to block the guys. I'm going to block the threats, okay? I think the more college-type people that we play, the more kind of spread people we play, they put shit on quarterbacks, right? I'm going to get the ball out of that. So I think it's some of that. All right, so this is fan duel, right? So like say, for instance, if it's 2x2, right, and there's an F and there's a B right here, and we're in a tight front. Fan duel means, or the way we would look at it is, they're going to block the most dangerous, right? So these two right here are sorting out. I'm going to block the 4-eye and the hoop, right? These two are sorting out. I'm going to block the 4-eye and the hoop, right? The center is blocking the nose, okay? And so if these guys are at apex and all this and walked out and the safety's high and they're not a threat, right? This is the most dangerous threat. And so we call this a solid. So the duel is a fan or a solid, all right? So they're going solid to this guy. And then the back over here, he is your duel. He's working from here to here. Okay, so that's mainly what we get, all right? We'll get that. Now, let's say, for instance, you walk a guy up. Let's say you walk a guy up. They will go from a solid to a fan. Right? So let's say it's like this, and let's say we're going to walk this guy up, and let's say he's coming down. So now the threat went from him to him. So now they're going to fan this. This side stays the same. Okay, so this is still solid to this side. This is fan to this side. All right, so now the back has got this guy right here to this guy. Okay. So here's the bottom line with fan duel. Right? If you want to rush, show in. If you want to rush out, show in. Right? If you want to rush in, show out. Okay? Right? And so, like, say for instance, like in this picture right here, I remember, so we played Iowa, and they were what I figured to be a fan duel team. And it's kind of embarrassing to admit this, but you know, we wanted to run like Jay's insert. We wanted to run an A-gap hit in there, and it's 3rd and 3 or something like that. And I'm thinking, well, you know, we can time it up, but why don't we just line them up there? I mean, screw it. Let's just line them up. It's a quicker path. We get up on that back right now and all that. And so we walked them up. And so we're in a tight look, and we walked them up like this, and all we told them to do was go to solid. You know what I mean? Right? And so what we should have done was walked them up to rush out. You see what I mean? Okay? Like the covers that DJ runs, the quarter 2x2 and the 3x1 playing fire zone, that's the best way to do it. Right? If it's a true drop back pass team. I mean, the RPOs and the constraints constrain you from doing that. But if you were to walk up, right, and then bail those guys out, right, you're buying the O-line, and the edges are coming clean. And, I just watched that vacation we went out to Utah. I didn't go skiing or nothing, so I broke down the New Orleans Saints defense, you know what I mean, in the room, drinking wine and whatever else. And so the Saints ran quite a bit of that, what do you guys call that two-sky coverage, or the edge pressure, right, playing quarters. Yeah, they ran it quite a bit. No, the double or outside edge, and then 2x2 playing quarters.
Swill.
Yeah, swill. Saints got a lot of mileage off that. Okay, so, all right, so if this was fan duel, okay? So like anytime it's 2x2 and there's a tight end in the core, they're going to fan that side. Okay? Because there's a big on the line of scrimmage. So they're going to fan, six-man protect, so he's releasing. So they're fanning him. All right? And then they're, depending on if he walked out, they're going to work here, so this is still solid. Right? And you've got the opportunity now to rush that. Okay? Now, if it's 3 by 1, right, it's going to be the same thing. So if it's 3 by 1 over here, and you got all of this, right, depending on what's over here, right, so like if we're not showing it, and a lot of times even if you show it, if it's a nickel, if you're showing it with a nickel and it's capped, right, they're still going to solid, because they're going to say, because let's say this, because when you fan it, when it's true fan, I mean, damn it if that's center and the nose all by himself, one-on-one, you know what I mean? So there's going to be O-line coaches going to say, we're going to fan it if we need to fan it, you know what I'm saying? Right? If that's a big over there and a big over there and they're both walking up and we're a fan dual team, that's going to be fan, okay? But if that's a big over there and that's a nickel over there, there's some people you got to check the tape, see, they're not going to fan that nickel. They're going to say, the back's got to block somebody, right? And keeping them in the whole thing, okay? And so sometimes you don't get fans and nickels. If you got a big over there, they'll fan them, right? But so this will still be a solid here, and they're going to fan this way. Okay. If it's a slide team, right, what they're going to do versus 3-4 is they're always going to slide it to the B, right, or to the big, right? So let's just say, let's start here in 3 by 1. So if we look like this, right, so now what they're going to do is they're going to look like this, right, but now they're working this way. Right, so they're going to slide to that B. And so the difference is it's not solid on the front, on the trick side, right? They're blocking down. They're working to that rover now. You know what I mean? Right? So they're going to slide, they're going to work out to the B, and then slide down to the rover, okay? Right, and so then, on this one, this becomes a where's Waldo in terms of where the point guy on the line of scrimmage is, right? And so, say it's 2 by 2, and there's not a threat over there at 2 by 2, right? So let's say it's like this. This may be the one time you get it to where if they don't see a threat, they'll say, you know what, let's just slide away. Okay, well, it'll look like this because there's not a threat over there. But every other time you're in slide, you won't get them working to that B. Okay, and so I think if we're in tight defense right now, our rover is the 4th rusher. So he's playing run first. If it's 3-step, he's not rushing. He's playing flat. So 3-step becomes like an 8-man drop. And we push the zones, so we're flat. Right? So that rover's sitting over there. This is the Q, right? And he's picking it up here. We're both flat this way. The outside back is pushing the 1. The nickel or the nickel or outside back is pushing the 1. The middle back is pushing the 2. The rover is pushing the 3 or the next one. And so this is more push this way. All flat. 3-man rush. Okay. All right. And then if it's a 5-man rush, he drops back, and the rover rushes for us. And so, how does he rush? I mean, the ends work out, right? The ends will push up in the B gap. They're going to play run first and all of it. They're going to pass that. They're going to work to cot and work out, contain on pass. The nose for us works to the field. So he's going to work to that A gap to the field. Okay, and so then what we tell the rover is, hey man, you're going to face a fan dual team, so your insert's going to be in the A gap, right? So he's working in this A, right? He's working this way, because we're going to say the nose is working here, and the ends are popping out here late after we push up. There's going to be an eventual contained component with these guys, all right? So you get the rover rushing. Now, if it's a slide team, right, we're going to say, hey, we're playing a team that's a slide. You go B to B is what we tell them. Okay? And so like say if it's this, they're working up, the nose is working to the field A, the rover's working here. So if he gets the guard blocking out, that's his B gap. Okay, if he gets the guard blocking down, that's his B gap. Okay, he goes B to B, he meets the guard. Right? Guard left, he goes right. Guard right, he goes left. Right? And so I bring all that up because we're riding that gravy train for 2 years, and we get to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame shows on film they do both. Okay, and this is the drawing of it. Okay, so when we're playing Notre Dame, right, I'm looking at it, and so here's the example. There's a slide right there, okay, right? Let's see. All right, there's FanDuel right here, right? And so, let's see, 5-0. Obviously, you create bear or you create mug. Those are ways to dictate, linebackers up in the A-gaps. That's the ways you can dictate. But so here's right here, here's fan, there's your B. Right, there's your solid right here, okay? And so here they stem late, okay? So what came out of it for me in watching and breaking all of this down, so I wish there was, we were talking about Kim Dameron before, and so I remember when studying versus protections, I remember, and I think I've been talking about last year, is that I remember when I was learning, I got some notes and stuff from before where it was like numbers, and it was like, it was like 52 something Z or something like that. There's like all these numbers that kind of equated to some type of protection, you know what I mean? And I always had a hard time with that because to me, you had to kind of fit yourself into that, and then you had to bring it out to what was the reality of what they're doing, you know what I mean? And so that was just, I felt like that was just like a detour, man, you know what I mean? And so the idea would be, what are the concepts that are applicable? How can we name a protection, right, and make it so they're going to work away from the back. All right, that's slide. All right, they're going to block the most dangerous. Okay, that's FanDuel. You know what I mean? We wanted to have it more that way, and I thought that was more. We could apply that more to people that we're seeing, and that would help them solve this problem. Because I think if this was a number-based thing for me, I would get lost in all the numbers. So maybe that's just me. All right, here's slide right here. Okay, I don't know what's happening. What it became with these guys was this right here. And so here's Stanford. This is Notre Dame. And so what ended up happening, I think I wrote it down over here. Let's see. All right, okay, Wake Forest. The DC of Wake Forest was at Minnesota. I studied with him a bunch. He's a great guy and everything else. He's a big, we call it Favre, bringing the nickel from the field. And so when Notre Dame played Wake, they slid to the field. When they played Stanford is a big, I've used the term whip before, bringing the rover in the B gap to the boundary, right? Their field boundary team, and the rover would rush from the boundary a lot. So when they played Notre Dame, when they played Stanford, they slid into the boundary, okay? So what it appeared to me was the offensive line coach was adjusting his protection versus whatever he was saying. If you're a field team, he's going to slide it to the field. If you're a boundary rush team, he's going to slide it in the boundary. You know what I mean? I think, but the other thing that showed up too was there was a lot of free runners with Georgia and Stanford, both 3-4 teams. So the quarterback was making the change. The O-lineman they had 2 guys that were probably first-round picks, right? But they were not IDing fronts. They were not doing it. And so they were a FanDuel team, okay? But once they made their call, that was it. So what was happening was, if this was a tackle and your Wade walked over there, they're going to solid it. Well, if they stemmed it and they rushed late, fuck man, no one had the guy. Right? The back would have him. If he blocked, a lot of times he was Scavalier. No one had him. You know what I mean? Now, if you lined up over there, right, they're going to fan that. You see what I mean? So it was that whole concept of showing off and everything else. And so those 2 things showed up after going through all of that. You know what I mean? It's like for us right there, we ran some Bledsoe from the boundary, so they're going to slide to the boundary. That's what they did in our game. Okay? But I think to be able to look at it that way, right, and identify that guy. And so I have a lot of respect for that coach. He was different. and how we did it. I think there's a fair amount of people, the O-line coach are going to say, hey man, this is what we do, this is what our kids know, and the whole thing, and these guys were different. Okay, so right there's right here, disguise, hold the look, and the whole thing. All right, then from here, here's the issues now. So this is 3 on the out. Right, so anytime you're a match 3 team and you're getting 3 on out routes, so 3 on 7 cuts, that's a problem. Right? If you're saying you're a 3-match team, then we play loose man on 1. So 1 comes under, we zone it, and 1 goes up, and 1 goes anything but come under quick, we man it. Okay? Right? We play gone on 2. 2's vertical, we man it. 2 goes out, we man it. 2 goes in right now, we can zone it off. Okay? So if you're manning 1 and 2, right? Great. Now you got number 3. Okay, so number 3, we play lean post with our safety. So he's not a true middle field player in 3 deep. He's leaning to number 3. So he has 3 vertical. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, if 3 were to bend, we want the weak hook player, much like what Coach just described. We want him to play. So if 3 bends, that's the weak hook. If 3 goes vertical, that's the lean post. Right? And that's usually a clear. Okay? If 3 runs 7, a 7 cut, then it becomes, we need to have an amendment. What did the number 2 do? Does it chair 7? Did 2 sit down? Can we zone off the crow flat defender? Right, that's what we like to be able to say, right? But if they clear out 1 and 2 and 3 runs of 7, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And so these are all those issues right here. And then I write them down like this. It's the only way I can really learn it and know it. Okay.
Is that down and distance you're going to remember?
Yeah. And then there's a difference too. It's like the receivers over here were at 10. The tight ends they'd be at 6 at times. There's one example at 10, but usually the tight ends, these were different routes. This is still early in the game. All right, and then here's tight trips. Tight trips is the one formation where we play it like Colorado plays it, where we bring the safety over, and we call it lock. Right, and so the backside tight end, the corner will form quarters. The quarter will play on top of the tight end. The corner will play on top of the tight end. Right, and then we bring both safeties over the top of 3 and 2 to the trip set. So we get tight trips. For us, is where we get a majority of quarterback runs, majority of the counter tees and pulls. And this is really no different. Okay, and so here's tight trips. And so we wanted to make sure we always got reps and tight trips throughout the year. So here's your throughout a weekly scout. So here's quarterback counter tee. This was a common play. We saw this quite a bit. Okay. I think Notre Dame on offense, and Memphis on offense, I think Oklahoma on offense are good studies, because I think more people are going to be doing that. The more offensive coaches I see like on the road, those are the 3 teams that they're studying. All right, so here's Buck Sweep. Okay. All right, and so this is what they do out of tight trips. All right, now we move to empty sniffer. So this was a big one. And so this is undefined empty. So we treated this as a 1-back set. All right, so they had empty, and then they had this sniffer. We treat this is 2 by 2 going to 3 by 1. Okay, all right, this is 2 by 2 going to 3 by 1. So here's all the examples, and then from here, right, and I don't have it listed up, but when I can write it down like that, right, what I'm doing in my mind is I'm saying, here's the ones that are fucked up, here's the ones we got to rep, here's the ones, if we get to them on Thursday, we're good. You know what I mean? But the only way I can get that done is if I write them down. Because again, I'm not the guy where someone says, hey Dave, it's this. I can go, I got you. I go, what did he just say? What did he really mean? You know what I mean? And so I got to be able to write it down. I know which ones we got to rep and which ones we don't. Okay? All right? And then over here, now you get to empty. And this is how they did empty. You see all the motions getting out. Right away, the smash, the special right here, the smash divide, is something we had to address, especially if you're playing base. You got base people, right? If you're playing nickel, you could play where you can have guys covering these guys. If you're in base, you don't have that ability. All right. Okay, the blitz trigger, I think Coach mentioned this, like you know, the motion wave by the quarterback, we want to blitz, right? Under center, right? The QB is going to raise up his foot, right, to indicate motion. So these were things that here's the cut-ups we wanted to make. So this was, for us to blitz, these are triggers we wanted to blitz on. We want to get that started right away. Okay? Let's see. All right, there's the Z crack. Okay, so this is all Z crack right here. All right, so now this is all, right, so we want to zone this. So like our base rule, if we're in 3D or we're in fire zone, okay, and so if we're in 3D, we say gone to a wide number 2. And what that means is to the inside linebacker, hey man, I'm gone. So that means you got to expand with 3 to flat, okay? I got 2 out, I got 2 up, okay? Now, our base, like camp rules are going to be, if we get to the field, if we get the number 1 receiver inside the hash, opposite hash to the field, we zone that. So zone it. So we play true cover 3. Into the boundary, if we get the number 1 receiver inside the numbers to the boundary, we zone that. It's true cover 3, right? Whether it's dog or fire, or whether it's dog, which is fire zone, or 3D, right? And so these were examples where we're getting those splits. Okay, so here's an example right here. If we match this, right, I think we're creating some work for ourselves that we really don't need right here. So we want to zone this off. All right, all these issues right here. Okay, this is probably the biggest one, is the spot 7. We want to zone that out. Okay, all right, and then from here, then we get to 3rd and 3 to 5, and so I'm looking at all the 3rd and 3 to 5s. All right, so anyways, I don't know what else to say, man. There's a lot of drawings. 3rd and 6 to 12. So here's Zorro, right? And so Zorro is that quarterback power, that power read. So we want to see what formations they're running in, so you can see it right here. All right, so then from this, we're picking the ones that we have to build a rep. All right, and so when I meet with the defense, right, so like right here, we're talking about if the DN sits, it's a give, right? If the DN widens, right, he's keeping it, okay? And so like how much of that is true? So in other words, how much is it called? How much are they really reading it, okay? All right, and then we get to these rail floods. This is another concept I guess I should have put with that initial one. Here they are right here. These are rail floods. These are all of the play passes, and you get the wheels out of it. And so for us right now, if we're in quarters right here, this would be a switch alert to these two when they're tight, right? This would be red hammer over here to this side. So when this motion were to come, this safety over here would go to a Fox player, right? He would go to a post, right? This safety over here would match the Y, all right? And the corner would match the Z. And we have a post player sitting here. The outside backer would match the S, right? And so the safety is coming down, right? He's fitting off the Y. My man, my fit. Okay, scissors routes, these would be switch alerts. Right here. If we're in dog or fire zone, right here, we made this a danger call. And so we wanted to play that like if that wing look, we wanted to play that as if it was eye near. All right, so say that wing was eye near. So like this is the tight end right here, okay? That's the tight end. And here's the near back. If that was the case, the corner would play the Y, the skiff defender would play number 2. Right? And so if that tight end were to run an out, you get like, say you get stick, and the back goes to flat, right? The corner would match the tight end, linebacker would match the flat, right? If, say, the tight end sit right there, and the back's offset here, and the back runs a wheel, tight end goes vertical. Corner would match the tight end, right? Linebacker would match the running back. Right? We played it the same way in the room, okay? So we treated this guy like if he was here. So the rover over here, or the corner over here played the tight end, and the rover played this. And so if we got the stick route, the rover would push through that, the corner would play this. We're going to tackle that, that out. But if we got this route, right, the corner stayed matched on the dog, and it gave us the opportunity to play with the sail. Because what we always used to do with this was zone it. And the problem with always zoning it was the scissors concepts. Okay, here's our cut rules in man, right? And so whenever we're in man, this is where we wanted to cut it to. So you can see the concepts, like when we're in man coverage, we cut routes. And so we'll take over the route in man. All right, so if we get a shallow crosser, we'll take that route, and then whoever had it will now zone up and become the new rat in the hole. All right, and so the idea of where you're cutting to. So the base rule in that has always been, if it's 2 by 2, we cut to the Z close side. If it's 3 by 1, we'll cut to the X. If he's shallow, if he's not, we cut to the bunch. This was game plan for these guys. 3 by 1, we cut away from the running back. 2 by 2, we cut to the passing shoe. Right. Here's the safety RPO. This hit a bunch of people. Right. And the weak side RPO, I feel, are the toughest ones. So we were talking earlier. The strong side RPOs. So whether it is a down play or whether they're running power, they're pulling. I like bringing pressure off that edge, right? Because I think the weakness of the power and the down is that they're block and run, and so you bring a second level guy. We had a lot of success with that. I think I'll show you film versus Ole Miss where we hit the quarterback a bunch, got sacks, and all of it off of RPOs. Okay. The weak side one, I think, is a clearer read for him, and it's been a little bit more of a difficult thing. Especially, let's say we're in quarters. This has been this comes down to, are you a believer in technique or not? You know what I mean? Is this a technique problem or is this a scheme problem? I think that's a hard question to answer. There's a lot of, what's your DNA with all that? Okay? Because you could say, hey, let's press this. You see what I mean? Or you could say, hey, we got to put a safety over here. We got to get another safety involved on the other side and the whole thing. Let's talk about that real quick. All right. In quarters, the way we play it is we play aggressor and we play protector. Okay. And so let's say for instance, let's do it. What would be an example right here? Let's start with this. So if we're like this in quarters, we've got this safety and this safety. So the safety to a tight end, he is the aggressor, right? This safety away, he is their protector, right? And we say fox alert here. Right? So this safety here, what we'd like to be able to get with him is flat-footed. He's pat his feet in the run game. He's in the run fit. This safety over here, we'd like for him to walk out. He's a knockdown safety, right? So you got any form of power or whatever this is, the rover would near hand far shoulder, the Mac would spill, F would leverage, and then that safety's in the fit. So we're taking quarters and we're making 8-man spacing. This is really what's happening. Okay. Right? And then you got your safety over here, and he would fox. You get any of these play passes, you get him sitting here for this post. That's the base way we played it. Okay. Now, so how does the fox go? Right. So, when in quarters, a lot of people will bracket the X. Right. I think I don't know. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on it. The problem I've always had with bracketing guys is they don't throw it to that guy. You know what I'm saying? And it just took us 2 guys to do that. And so, can we, right, have another call that addresses that, 1, and then 2, within this call, can we play that guy's technique as such to not give it away, right? I think if you can live in that space, that's a better space, right? Because I think again, I'll bring you back to the Saints, right? And I feel like you kind of have to do this at certain levels, I imagine. Maybe it's to justify certain things, but they're running, and I understand why they're doing it. So they're in, I'm going to fix up this one. So the safety's down over here, and it's one high shell, and then they bring the nickel, and the middle field safety goes and tracks the half, and this guy pushes to the flat. He's the flat defender playing cover 2 in the corner midpoints, and all that stuff is cool, but where do you think they threw that ball? Right in the seam. Right in the seam, man. Right in the seam, man. It's just hard, man. It's hard to go watch that stuff. You know what I mean? I think that's a great illustration of it right there. You know what I mean? That's a great illustration. And so that's what I'm talking about with the DNA. Like when you look at that, is your thing to say, you know what, we got to disguise that better, maybe we ought to rep it better, or is your thing to say, you know what, if we just did it the way our base is, and we worked on that technique a little bit better, we can cover that. You guys see what I'm saying? How do you all see that? It's always interesting for me to hear people talk about all that. People way different, and they see that different. But so the Fox alert we enjoy having. Now let's say it's this way. Let's say there's a tight end here, and there's an S here, and there's all that right there. Well, this safety over here, we play red hammer to this side, right? So there's a nail hook is very similar to the technique that DJ was talking about. And we'll play nail. Nail is either read a 2. Red hammer is nail lock. You know what I mean? So 2 out, 2 up with this safety. Okay, over to this side, right? This safety over here is playing Fox alert still, right? And so like we did a study on this technique here when that Y was in a sling, and I think 80%, like 85% of the time he's a non-vertical threat. So he ain't going vertical, you know? And so that safety is going to honor the vertical, but once he don't go vertical, he foxes the post. You know what I mean? He goes to the post. Okay? And so, like, you know, if we get any, so the other piece, like, if we get anything like this where he's blocking, right? He releases out, he releases in, he works like that, right? So, like, say for instance, we get something like this. Right? You're working off that like that. Now you're going to say this guy's going to have to win, right? But you're doubling the post. Okay, so then this becomes the thing right here. We're in double pro. So then how do you handle double pro when you're foxing? We go off the flow of the back. Okay, and so like if it's pistol or if it's home, right? Both of these guys, right, will work back and they'll see the flow. They'll go flow to 2. So if we get something like this, we get flow here, right? We fox it this way, right? Aggressor here. Will start to walk out and be the protector, right? Because we say if we're getting zone over here, we're saying that this is your A-gap player, right? This is your nest player. So we're playing this, we're playing this. Again, he has got that season, right? So regardless of whether it's stretch or it's inside zone, we play those the same because we're counting on the fact that we got edges. And so we're saying that he's going to be your alley defender. This is your A-gap defender. This is your nest defender, right? You're going to ensure that this, we don't want to jump out here and get cut and make the ball take us out there, okay? So they're going to play off the flow, right? And so by doing all that, I think there's merit to all that stuff. And I mean, there's good film on here of all that happening, right? And so then all that gets into now this. These safeties are these RPOs. All right, so this is a good one right here. That one. Right, so if this safety's in the fit, he comes down, they hit this glance right here. You know what I mean? So that's a tough question, man. You got a month or so to prepare, and you're watching this play maybe 30-some times in that month. What you going to do with that? You know what I mean? That's the deal. Okay, and so I think having an ID and recognizing that as a concept that's got to be addressed, I think is the main point. Right, here's counter, OT, and CT. Right, so they're pulling. All right, so like versus all this. Let me mention this now. We moved the front quite a bit, and so it's going to be on this film right, when we roll to it. So if we were just to be, it was good examples that DJ had in there. So I say it's this, and we're just going to get zone, okay? And these would be the zone blocking here, right? Let's say it's like that. All right, and you got edges, and you got this guy occupying 2, and this guy occupying 2, and all of it. You couldn't ask for really anything better than that, okay? And you're saying we're going to get knocked back and get these guys at a different level. We're going to force these guys to come flat, and all of it. I think we're dictating right now. Unfortunately, not a lot of people allow you to do that. So what we get a fair amount of is this. We call it veer, Okay, so veer blocking. So like this guard, this tackle over here will work to set up, and this guard's going to come and slam. Center is going to set up, guard's going to come and slam. So they're not looking to combo up. They're looking to block by. They're looking to block like that. Okay, so we'll get a lot of that. Okay, so like when we're getting those types of blocks, there is an element of hey, we can get knocked back, try to get them at a different level and all of it. There is some truth to that. We like to be able to move the front to where they're running when we get them, to help with the angles. Right? So they're doing that to run over here to the right. We want to move our people to the right. Let's say there's this right here, and wherever that tight end is, they run to this tight end. So if he's here, they're running the O play over here. Say he's here, they're running the down play, the zone, where the tight end's blocking down over here. If it's like that, we want to move our people wherever the tight end is. Right? And so to do that, we say eagle. And so that moves the 0 to a shade, 4-eye stays the same, and we tighten down the backside 4-eye to a 3. We look like that. And I think when you do that, it's easy for these cats because not a whole lot changes. Right? They're playing the backside A instead of the front side A. That's really what the difference is, okay? Right? So we say eagle if they, when do we play eagle? Right? We play eagle if we're getting a fair amount of veer scheme front side. We like to have a shade over here. We like to have a 3 over here that eliminates these. Right? When do we play eagle? We'll eagle to a tight end if that's all they run to. If everything they got's to a tight end, we'll run eagle to it. If it's counter going away, we were talking about this with DJ before. Let's say it's like this, and let's say we eagled it. So counter OY. All right. So if, say if it's something like that, you like having this shade over here. He squeezes this gap. I like having the 3 in terms of squeezing this, and it's rock back, turn back for us. We send it back. So I feel good about that. I think a lot of times that has been more successful than that. Especially if this is like a tray formation. Again, we're not using this safety, so this safety ain't tied with him. Right? This safety is a Fox player, so he ain't in the fit. He goes, he ain't coming. So he's walking out. And this guy's not a threat, so they're not gonna block back to this. They're just gonna hinge on this, take advantage of this, right? So like the angles over there can be a mess. So do you address it with the secondary or do you move the front? Okay, so eagle, there's merit to. Now, we slide the front, which is just getting to under, whenever there is a pin and a pull outside. Whether that's the pin and pull or that's the pin and pull. So now we want to have a 5 technique to that outside. Okay. And so like say for example, if we don't do anything different and we just line up, see 2 by 2 we can get the safety over here. Let's do tray. This is a good example. This is why, right, DJ runs what he runs with, because for DJ it's the same. For us it's not. You know what I mean? In 2 by 2 we're going to get this safety, right? Because we're in quarters. Over here, if it's tray, we don't have them anymore, right? Because we're saying we're a Fox player. So there's a difference there, right? So let's do it in trips right here, okay? So over here to this side, this is just going to be red hammer. We're going to say just gold. That safety's got 3 vertical. He is not in the run fit, okay? And so if they take these angles, right, and work to block all of this, and they kick out here, right, and they kick out here, and they pull here, right, they got 3 gaps out here, and we got 2 guys, so that's a problem. And then it becomes, do you want to get that, how do you get that safety involved? Do you play what you play, and now you got to adjust the back end, which is a different world for us, so we move the front. And so this would be a slide pull. And so if it's a slide, what we're trying to do is get the double, all right, and we're a 3 on the backside. At Utah State and Wisconsin, we line moved this, which I feel is still the best way. Okay, so if we're in something like this, we're going to get that block, and let's say it's something like this. This is how Notre Dame would do it. They bring both these guys, right? We feel that that's a better proposition than that. So that would be our answer to it. Okay. And so if we were to...
When you say line movement, slant
Slant,
to it all
I think
the way.
that's the best way.
Okay.
That's the best. Now, let me say this from a linebacker perspective. Yeah, man, let's slant. You know what I mean? Let's go. Because hey, it's all good. You know what I mean? From a D-line perspective, maybe there's some guys that are into it, but when you get to that first film of you're slanting this way and they run it that way, it's like, holy shit. You know what I mean? And so what's the investment there? But I feel that's the best. We were talking earlier before, so I feel like, because here's the thing about it, right? The drilling down of all of it, okay? And I think all of us as D coordinators, right? We're at a bar sitting somewhere and I got pen and there's a napkin over there and I write kind of my menu of calls. These are like my friends, you know what I mean? Here's my base calls and this kind of complements this. And I think that's got to be a disease or something, right? There's got to be a term for that. We all kind of do that. These all kind of fit, and I could call this because this will complement that and all of it. The problem with that thinking to me is, like, if we're going to be in tight, and we're knocking back this way, then I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to get some movement because we're going to run chop. Or I'm going to get some movement because chop's bringing the corner and we're wrap or slant in the front. Or we're going to run like we used to call field dog, and that's just NCAA from the field. I'm going to get movement that way. The problem with that, man, is that it doesn't look like tight. You guys see what I'm saying? Right? And so the safety starts to rock, and the problem, you know, if you take a good old line coach, right, they're going, if it's tight, they're going to block tight. If it's field dog, they're going to block field dog. If it's chop, they're going to block chop. And so the best, to me, is moving in and out of tight. You see what I mean? So we used to say, like for our eagle, we used to say just Lou and Ray. That would just move the nose, right? So we move the nose left, move the nose right, right? And then we used to say lion and ram. And lion and ram would move the nose and the front side 4-eye to a 5 and to a G, you know, and the back side 4-eye stay the same. I feel like that's the best way, you know. Now, if you can handle it or be efficient at it, the runs going the other way. Because I think there's too many, guys, there's too many pulls. There's too many blocking out with guards on tackles and tackles pulling. There's too much of that, and they're doing that, and there's too many big splits, and there's too many gap schemes, or there's too many man blocking instead of zone blocking, and they're all doing that because everyone's playing tight, you know what I mean? I think the other thing that can be helpful, not in the big split part of it, that can be helpful, and in some of the pools, is playing bear. You know what I mean? It's going from 4-eyes to 3s. There's not a big investment in doing that, right? And that's a big difference for them. There's a fair amount of communication's got to take place, right? If they're all scheming up, hey, we're going to pull counter all wide, and that linebacker's now walked out. The linebacker's walked out, and so we can just double off the front side with the guard and center to that backside linebacker and fuck them and all of it. And now all of a sudden you stem to bear. There's merit there. And so we would play it. Yeah, you could play it as quarters. Yeah, that's like we were talking about before. I would look at it in playing it that way versus 11 teams that are 2-backs. You guys, you see what I'm saying? Right? If I would be a little less inclined to play it that way, if it was 11, there was 2 11 or 10. You know what I mean? Pictures. But if it was 11 where there's a tight end that's off the ball moving like this and it's 2-backs, there's a lot of merit to doing it. A lot of merit. Yeah. But you know, I think you gotta color that with what is this, February, whatever it is. We're talking about we're undefeated right now, so it's all good. So, but yeah, that would be the thought. Okay. I want to show you guys one more thing when we get to the tape that they install. Let's see. Okay. All right. Over here, these guys did a great job of bringing the tight end in from different spots. All right, so the tight end is all over, and they bring them in and create one back. They did a good job with that. Here it is right here. So this was Notre Dame. These were all the concepts. So there's pace, there's screen, there's Z-crack. Right? There's a 3 call, which is the zoning. Right? There's a big boot team. Right? Zorro. They read it and they crack and load. That is a bitch when they crack and load. Right? So they crack with the Z on the linebacker and they're loading up on the corner, which is a pain in the ass. Right? And then there's draw. So anyways, all of these things had to be addressed and kind of studied out. right? And then that was brought to the coaches, and the coaches brought it to the guys. Okay. All right. Maybe there's something that came out of that. Let's see if we can move to this film real quick.
Now, when you said you watched the games on your book there,
Yes.
you're watching the games. Now, are you watching the games and then are you watching, I know you said all third downs, or you had 11 personnel, or you had wing. So then you watched the game, then you went back and watched the cut up of that?
The concepts of it. Yes, sir.
So, okay, so
Yes,
you're
sir.
watching the game, then go back and watch the concepts? Or?
Yes. So like,
So you take notes on the game, and then you go back and say,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to watch these concepts again.
that's right. Because the concepts are, to me, what the identity of the person. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so like, I think there's, I think much like people, I think football. What's the personality of that offense? You know what I mean? And so those things kind of, I feel like that list right there
Yep.
addressed who they were. You know what I mean? And so that was kind of the key with it.
When you go through, Dave, you walk through, you draw out the issues,
Yeah.
you make your must-stop list.
Right.
And the must-stop list is where you get your concept cuts.
Correct.
So we watch every play, you write down, you make a note, this is an issue, this is an issue, this is what they run. And then from those notes, you say, all right, these are the concepts I'm going to watch.
Yeah. I think you can see it, right? I think you have an idea of it, you know. So here's the thing, we have not had analysts, we're hiring analysts. Analysts such a, I mean, to have someone that can say when you know, all that whole process over there, when someone can come up on Sunday and say, hey, Dave, this is what I think they are, they're like this, yada, yada, and this, man, you know what I mean? How about that? When it ain't like that, it's like,
But Mitch, I'm going to be devil's advocate.
yes,
You putting it all down,
yes,
you totally know it.
yes. And I
If
was
somebody tells you,
correct.
then you don't
No,
go
correct.
through
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean,
No, you're right. You will not go, I will not just say, hey, that's good, and I'm moving on.
Right.
But that can narrow it down for me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, as opposed to.
Might pop out quick.
Right, as opposed to, like, a lot of the work, the nailing down of stuff is Wednesdays, Tuesdays. That's when it is, because at first, the Mondays and Tuesdays are just kind of, you're taking punches of this, hey, there's this, they do this, oh, hey, there's a freshman, they're playing a little bit more, they move them in, this is the package, and there's that, you know what I mean? If someone can say, right in the beginning, hey, there's a freshman, and they're moving them around,
Okay.
and they can say, hey, you know what, when they put formation sideline, they ain't doing shit in the sideline, they're just doing it to come back. Then I can study the stuff that comes back. And when the freshman plays, I can study just the runs they're doing. I don't have to go through that first step or two, you know what I mean? Which is a big thing. Because, I mean, the Mondays and Tuesdays generally suck, right? But the Wednesdays and Thursdays, you kind of feel like you're rolling, and you wish you had a little bit more time.
So,
Yeah.
Coach, you're saying on the Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's when you get more to some of these cut-ups where you have more time to get in depth in it?
Yeah, that's when I think it's finally kind of hitting. That's when I think it's really settling in who
You've been
they
already
are,
looking at it, but-
who they are, and what we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think prior to that, there's still, you know, right, it's easy for me to say right now, like off of that, oh yeah, these guys did this, these guys did that, but I go back to that moment, and there's a lot, you know what I mean? There's, because, you know, here's the other piece with it too, which makes it, and I brought this up before, in the Big Ten, and maybe this is an unfair thing, and maybe it's even like a kind of a nasty thing, and I don't mean it like that, okay? But I remember we would play Iowa, and they're going to run the stretch, and damn it, man, they ran the stretch, you know? And they're going to run the boot off the stretch, and that's what, I mean, it wasn't about all this other stuff. It was about keeping edges and not getting cut off, and the whole thing, you know what I mean? And you play, you know, Minnesota, they're going to run the power. They're going to run power extra, you know what I mean? You got to be able to fit up for that third puller. And so there's all of that, whereas in the people we play now, the self-scout's more important than anything, because they're just copycatting plays. You see what I'm saying? And they're finding ways that they can get that freshman that has a hard time learning or wherever else to try to get him to play. And so the self-scout's so much more important, right? And then finding plays, hey, this was similar to the play that we got hit with in week 2. They just did it one time, but that's more important. So I'll find that on Wednesday. You see what I'm saying? If someone could tell me that on Sunday, that'd be big.
When you do your journal, is it all versus 3-4 base teams, or how much stuff do you put on the 4-3 teams?
No, that's a
Like
good
recent
question.
games,
That's a
you
good
know.
question. Yeah, the majority of it is 3-4 teams. I think the 4 down teams, they are still broken down. And so we'll look at that. I'll scan through that, but it's not the detail of this. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so while I'm doing all that, right, on Sundays and Mondays and everything, our assistants have their individual things, and they're presenting to me and presenting to the staff on third down, on red zone, and all that, right? And so I'm going through all the games. They're going through their individual deal. And starting on Monday, they start showing the deals. We have a hit chart, so we go off the hit chart. So the hit chart is old school, so it's all up against the board, and that kind of gives us an idea. And so if things are real tight, for me, this is probably just being a defensive coach. If stuff's real tight, there's not a lot of formation in plays, I get nervous because they're good at what they do. You know what I mean? If it's really wide, if it's all out of there, right, then they're not so much good at what they do, but it's like, you know, we got to make sure we're not out leveraged. We got to make sure we cover down on the right people because, you know, the gates are going to be wide open. You know what I mean? So we look at the hit chart first, right, and we go over personnel, okay, and then right after that, I go through my notes, kind of I go off the games. I think these are the personality of a team. It's like real obvious ones, but if it's 4th and 1, are they going to run it? Right? Are they going to play action pass it? Are they going to throw a reverse? See what I mean? You want to know that right off the bat because that's going to bleed into other stuff. Okay. What would be another example of it? Right? If it's 3rd down, but here's a great one: the Notre Dame game. So we lost that game. Okay. So to start the game, every 3rd down was a screen, was a run, right, or like a shovel. So they were not going to throw the ball. So they were anticipating pressures. I don't really know what film they were looking at before, but they were anticipating pressure. And so our idea was that's who they were. They were not going to be a team where they look back in the film and they go, oh, they got us scheme-wise. They clearly were going to be, we're smarter than you. You know what I mean? So we want you all coming this way, right? And so we can go this way. You know what I mean? Okay. And so we played that style first. So we're playing tight 4. So it's 3rd and 12. We're playing tight 4, man. You know what I mean? Right? It's 3rd and 9, and we're playing eagle at 1. We're playing 1st down, 8-man front, and they run power into it. You know what I mean? And so that was their MO, and they killed a lot of people because people are running exotic things and they're just running at them. You know what I mean? Or they're running screens and they're hitting them. And so that was kind of the mind. Now, what I didn't do a good enough job with, because I didn't see enough on tape, was how quickly he was going to change. So somewhere in the 3rd or 4th quarter, that whole approach changed, and they just started slinging it more. And it's just so hard, man, when you've had success with something right in the game, to let it go and then go to something else. You know what I mean? To let it go, and now we got to open it up and do it. And I feel like I failed on that thing, man. I should have done that. I should have been ready just to let this go, right? So that the 1 calls, the 2 calls that you were no fucking way you're going to call, now all of a sudden you had to call them. And it was just a series, you know what I mean? That was the difference, right? But I think that stuff can show up on tape, though. You got to find it, you know what I mean? There's examples of that. Okay. Okay, so let me say it like this. Let's go on. Okay. All right. So what we try to do with the walkthroughs and everything we're doing right now, and I don't know, I like to get your guys' opinion on it, see how you guys feel about it. So we had a bunch of freshmen play last year. First game, I think we had 5 freshmen on defense to start the game, and true freshmen. There's a fair amount of freshmen playing. So here's the issue with LSU. And again, maybe this is too, I shouldn't be saying this. I got to think of better ways to say it. Okay, I think some of the kids we get, academic prowess, football knowledge, football IQ. There's much to be I think wanted in those areas. I think athletically, everything else is great. okay? And so then what it becomes is, when they get to where we're at, when they get to where you're at, the football that they know ain't the football that we're playing. It ain't the football they've been playing, man. The football they've been playing is, hey, you know what, I know Rashawn, and he can get me a ride up to Auburn for their pro day, and I can get, I can be there, you know what I mean? Or, hey, I know John, and John got a guy that trains such and such, and you can get your vertical jump better. You know what I mean? That's football to them, a lot of them. Now, that was not the same. Again, I'm at Wisconsin, right? I'm getting guys texting me, and did you see the goal line stand that what Winona State made versus fucking Tarleton State? That ain't happening right now, you know what I mean? I ain't getting those texts no more, okay? And so it's different, man, okay? And so now what happens, so now you get that kid that's all kind of, he's got his family, all future, a lot of it on the shoulders, and this is a little bit of a bullshit thing, but it also is true, right? Because I've seen it, okay? And he shows up, and the football he's been playing ain't the football you're playing, and all of a sudden, Coach, we're making an eagle call here. Yeah. And if they're emotional here, we're going to make a slide call over here. Okay. And then if it's empty, we're going to check spy. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that. Okay. And so, like, what do you do with that? Okay. And then, and then the other part is when I'm coming to LSU and I'm looking at, hey man, they're kind of like this, or they're kind of like that. And then all of a sudden they're in the pros and they're like, oh, pros, and like, where's all that shit when they were at LSU? Where was all that shit? You know what I mean? Where's that? So they come in, and the football they know ain't the football that you play. And then they're gone in 3 years because they play as freshmen. So right about the time they start to get it, they're out. So what do you do with that? You know what I mean? How do you do that? And so I think the learning thing is big. I think we're at war every day with head nodders, man. I mean, we can't have guys nodding their head in the back. You know what I mean? Not being involved. Kind of being passively, I got this. You know, there's a lot of guys. I think we've got a culture, a little bit of guys that come in, and I feel like there's Jamal Adams is a great example. So, great kid, great pro, right? Great player. Jamal ran like a 4.340 on a pro day, and after he gets done with the pro day, he's 40. He's running like this, turns around, and he's got like the SEC network and the cameras. And some local TV camera, and they're all up, the lights are on him, and they're trying to talk to him about his 40-yard dash time and what that meant for his draft status, and that's how I always saw Jamal. Every day he was like that. I felt he was like that. He'd walk through the halls, and it was just, it was almost like a reality TV show for him, right? And so when he was in a group structure, right, for whatever reason, it was if you're looking at it from the outside in, you'd say that's an alpha guy. You know what I mean? So you'd be great to have in the back end because, right, if you're able to get through all the hardness of it, he was great because he would say shit and he'd believe it and the kids would follow him and all of it. But to communicate with him was hard because you're talking about stuff and whether he knew it or not, to stay with this, he would nod his head. You see what I'm saying? And so you had to get him one-on-one. You know what I mean? You had to get him one-on-one. You had to go, one-on-one was a great kid, all that would come down, right? And now you could reach him. But if you talk to him in a group, if you talk to him in a team setting like this, and it's all like that, he's being Jamal, man. Now, there's something about that. I've never experienced that. But we've got a fair amount of guys, they're particularly the skill players that are like that, okay? And so one-on-one is a big thing. We've got to get it to them, okay? So like, what we try to do is we try to have it drawn up. We try to have them have a video example of it. We try to have a walkthrough of it. We try to have our individual period address whatever that is. You know what I mean? That technique, that scheme, whatever. We have a half line period, half skelly period, half run fit period that addresses that as well. And then we get it in team. Okay? And after the practice, then they hit us back with corrections. So I mean, there's a possibility of them addressing that thing 7 times, right? Which is what we need. You know what I mean? We need that. And so if we don't follow that path, then in 2 years, it ain't being taught. Which is, I don't know, that can be either constricting or that can be empowering based upon your perspective, I guess. You know what I mean? And so that does not allow us to say we're going to run this, run that, run this, and run that. So I think we have to. It's got to be a little bit tighter. But the other part with it too is when we have our walkthroughs in the winter, the examples that we show, the film that we show, the runs that are fitted up on here, right, are the ones we're going to see in the walkthrough. You guys know what I mean? Because I would make this mistake before. And I don't know. I'd be interested with y'all. Maybe it's not a mistake. Because here's the thing. I think what we don't want to create is robots. We don't want to create, and so this is the struggle we go through every day. We don't want it to be. You want to be a football player, so what you don't want to say is, hey, it's red light, stop, it's green light, go. Right? There's times you can jaywalk that thing. You know what I mean? There ain't no cops. Right? I can jaywalk it. It's not 7 a.m. in the morning on a school day. It's 7 p.m. at night. There's no one here. It's a red light, but I can go. You see what I mean? I think you want your football players to be able to do that. But what we say that is football intelligence. You see what I mean? And so when you teach it this way and structure them like this, right? You're bringing the structure to them, but you want to be able to. I think it's the teacher in the room that's got to be able to apply the concepts. You guys see what I'm saying? Because I feel like if we just said, hey, concept based, our guys struggle to get it. They struggle to get it. I think it's got to be like this coming in, and then you open that bitch up, and then the concept comes out. And I think it's the coaches, it's my responsibility and all that to sell that. Hey, we're doing this because of this, right? Here's how this is like this other thing. Okay, I think that's huge, man. So the drawings on here, the write-up on here, the video on here, and then we go practice those same things. Like when we do that, I feel like they got it. You know what I mean? We've added to a tally of how many times they've seen it. So like, here's what we used to do. We used to have a stock thing of install, and it'd be these formations, and there'd be like slot on there and pro tight on there and everything else. And we would spend a lot of time on that. And then we talk about conceptual fits, and then we would get to the field, and all of a sudden they're seeing Zorro and they're seeing fly motion, and it's like nothing took hold. You guys understand? You see what I mean? And nothing took hold that way. And so, is it a floodlight or is it a spotlight? You see what I mean? And I think for us it's got to be this, and then we've got to be able to address the different issues, and then we've been able to get it. So our walkthroughs now, our guys are on it, they're communicating, it's good. So I mean, that doesn't mean we're ignoring tight or slot or whatever else. That means we got to hit that on another day. You know what I mean? But it's like if we're trying to hit this, and this, we're just hitting that. So, okay, so this is base type 4. So this would be an example, right? So here's the defensive line techniques, right? And we try to build up to write all that stuff out. I'm not going to go through all this. Tell you what, if you guys got questions with it, you can talk to me about it. This is a little bit of, I got film on here, or I can talk it through a little bit better than just reading through this out, right? So this is a little bit more of the kind of the process of it. But if there's questions you got, then I'll hit it, right? So the defensive line techniques are on here. So we've written all of this out. And so like last year, we had all the freshmen that were playing. I talked to one of the linebackers, the freshman linebackers, and I said, what can I do better? What can I do to help you be better? And he said, and this is I think this kind of sums it up. This is a true statement by him, and so I appreciate that he felt comfortable saying it. He goes, Coach, you show us the film, you show us the fits and the write-up of it, but then we have to go right out and practice it. You know what I mean? Is what he said. And so what I hear in that is he wants to memorize it. You see what I mean? He wants something to be given to him before, so he could look at it and memorize it, and then go out and do it. And I feel like that's how I think a lot of our guys. Maybe it's just us. Maybe this is just like I don't know, something problem. But I think a lot of them do that though. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where the concept's got to come through. But I feel like the concept for us comes after we detail it out. Okay, these things right here, I think, help because our players can understand this and read this, and they can take stock of it. Okay. All right. This is the one I have for the linebackers. All right. So that's the alignment. There's our these are our alignments here, the 2x2 and 3x1 and all of it. Here's our keys. All right. So the indicator is that offset guy right there. All right. That's the fullback. We'll keep the spot so that indicator steps in. We're going to see that the guard he steps to. If it's a tailback and he steps here, we're going to see that guard that he stepped to. That's the spot. So you can see that. All right, clear run, clear draw. Right, so we're going to push the 3-step, push to your side, squeeze away. 5-step, kind of. Here's our run game. Right, rock back, turn back. All right, here's our run game techniques. So near hand, far shoulder would be, you know, if I'm an A-gap player and the run is coming this way. The guard over here, the guard's going to work to slam this 4-eye like this. He's going to eye me up. Okay, and so what we want to do is attack step, come down, do it this way. Put our near hand on his far shoulder. Right? And be front side strong here or here, this way. I'm putting him in again. Right? And we say cut the field off. So near hand far shoulder is a backside technique. It's a tight technique, right? If when you say cut the field off, that means I'm going to put my feet on the outside of the blocker in my prescribed gap. You know what I mean? So that would be like I'm playing a B gap. So I'm a B gap player, and the guard's coming to climb me. All right? I want to be stacking the 5. So I want to make him right. If he's reached, I'm going to fit off him. What I don't want to do is just come straight downhill, right? And you know the 5's reached, the 5's not reached, and there's issues over there. Something bad happens, so we want to be stacking this way, and then I will work to cut the field off this way, outside all the way through here. All right, so those are the 2 techniques. There's the nest, right? Our insert technique. We talked about slide protect, fan duel. We talked about. All right, here's the pass techniques. X off, X over. And we have a big adjustment for that. That's a whole clinic of itself right there. Is that thing, and then tackle it. All right, so like. This right here we go through, our guys can study that, and it works out good for them. Here's the outside backers, so this is how we outline it. Right, and so here's a hammer. Hammer means they take 2 to the flat, okay? All right, so here's another example of hammer. All right, and so there's the outline of it over here. So like this right here, this sling, right, and we're just teaching it off the bat. We can't teach you, we play this as hammer initially, right? But I think there's a fair amount of times that we want to play this in red hammer. The safety will take 2 to flat. Even with this guy being an outside leverage, we're going to get, for example, if you got like a rail flood, right? So I say this fly motion coming to this sling, and he arcs, and the motion goes. We really don't want that outside linebacker running with that. And so the safety will play that.
You got to that, we check that red hammer anytime he's off too.
Yes.
We got it so much, especially if we got double yo.
That's right.
Because you can get the arc and you
That's
get
right.
the
That's right.
buy zone. Did you?
Yeah.
Were you only checking it when it was off?
No, we would check it when it was off, and then the other time we would play it where we would normally play hammer would be flatbacks. So into the boundary, we play red hammer into the boundary. So the safety would take 2 to the flat in the boundary.
Flatbacks, what's flatback?
Gun split.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So same type of thing. The play pass off the Zorro,
Yeah.
the safety would play it so that backer would stay out of line. Yeah. All right. Let's see.
It is, yeah.
So
Red
this
hammer.
is, so this is apex right here. So there's red hammer. Right. We say bang, and so like the if it's 2x2, so we can get a Fox player in just about everything we got, with the exception of double twins. So now it's 0 coverage, and so I think that's something I'm always interested because I think because I say it too, and I find myself. And Corey Raymond, one of our DB coaches, he always catches me though, because I'll use the term quarters or some type of quarter type term when it's really just 0. You know what I mean? And I think it makes us all feel better about the situation. But if I say like this thing right here, so like this is red hammer. It's like red hammer is 1, red hammer is 0. You know what I mean? Okay. And so there's red hammer. So like there's a 2x2, right? How do we get the relief of it? So we say check bang. Right? And so it's a camp roll that's going to be to the field. So that outside backer will be 1x5. He's going to reroute number 2, and then he's going to work back in. So he's working to reroute off that. We get the bang 8s and everything else that I'm sure everyone else gets, okay? So we want to reroute that cat first and then come back in. So like versus double twins, that was an automatic freeze. And we could do, you know, during the season, that was, you know, away from the back. Some people, it was to the back. When are we getting those routes? Is one of us, okay? So bang was that technique. All right.
He's still, he's not,
He's pass first.
I'm not trying to think, I was thinking of words. He's not hammer, it's just bang.
Bang.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to the flat.
No.
He's just banging and then falling back.
That's
in.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Your switch alert. The switch alert is the corner and safety, zone out the quarters of 2 and 1. So the corner will match. The corner is responsible for the final 1. The safety is responsible for the final 2. Right. So let's say, for instance, though, let's say this is number 1 right here, and then this is your number 2. Right. So this is switch alert. So the ball's over there. So 1's going to come like this. Right, and we call this a flat 7, 2 doing like 7, like that. Okay. Well, the corner's responsible for him, but he's going to play that top down. So it's to not address the safety. The safety's going to work to get on top, and then the outside backer, his drop on this, where is it switch loaded? Is up top. His drop is seam. So he used the term seam flat. So what that means is, right, if it's a switcher over here, he's looking over there. He's trying to see. 1 and 2, if I vertical, I'm going to pack it in on the seam, take away the bend, right? So I'm going to play the seam, right? If it's switch load over here, right, I'm going to get my run pass, all right? And I get 1 to the flat, or I get 2 to the flat, now I push to the flat, you know? And now, I don't have the wheel of that cat, I've got 3 of the flats too. You guys see what I'm saying? Okay? So the corner's responsible, if that thing goes to the flat, that corner's going to play top down. Right, if that ball comes out quick, then we're tackling it. The outside linebacker a lot of times has a good feel of a lot of the switch alert is going to be all that. Okay. Here's box
The
down.
corner plays the sail of 2 when that guy goes to the flat.
Correct. Yeah.
He sinks out because you'll get
The help
2
with
levels. You'll get 1 out and you get 2 deeper out.
Correct.
So the corner's got to be playing the
Correct.
sail of 2.
Correct.
And then the wheel of 1.
Correct.
It turns out.
Correct. Yeah. So he's playing top down on 1. So that here's screw. If this was base. So if we're in base and there's straight quarters, then the F is over here. So this is another example. The base way of playing this is hammer, where I think a realistic way of it would be we could be in screw but play this as red hammer, where the safety's just matched on 2. A lot of it would depend upon the stuff that we're seeing. All right, here's box right here. So if we're in box, this would be a great example. This would be an aggressor over here. Backside, the aggressor here, this would be a protector here at the corner. Aggressor, protector, and then the backside safety would be playing Fox over here on 3, so that'd be including the F.
That's where you were saying they all key 1.
Yeah, so like if this was, so say we're in box over here, right? If we would start here to here, we're going to start with 1, so what we want to go see is the ghost. We got the ghost coming back, right, at the snap, right, we're going to work back with this. So we're going to see him. We see him to him. So like say he blocks and we get 3 going out, the linebackers, they're not cool on 1, they're just seeing 3. So the linebacker's seeing 3. If the 3 goes out, we're A, we're C. You know, this would most likely be a green guy, and this guy would be a red guy if that was the case. Okay, but let's just say for whatever reason, we get both of this. We get this coming back, and we get this coming back. Okay, if that was the case, then the corner's here working the 1, the safety's working the Fox, this other safety's working the red hammer. We see it with him first. So that'd be ghost. I think a fair amount of people would play, run that. All right, so this is X off, X over. Okay, so up top is X off. All right, down below this is X over. And so all we do with, so shell is our term for X off. And what we say with shell is,
Goes it back.
Shell is cover 3. X on is like a rolled over quarters. So 3 deep, we're rolling the DBs over. Okay, and so like a load, right? And so, what's the reason for that? You know, like this picture up top. Okay, we didn't used to play shell before. We used to just say, hey, we're going to play quarters, and then if they if a motion or whatever gets unbalanced, and then we're going to say, hey, you know what? We've got to be able to adjust to where, let's see, this safety over here went to this, right? This safety over here went to that, and this corner over here went to that. So we used to do that all in the snap when he motioned. So he would fly motion. He'd run here, he'd run here, he'd run here. The problem with that wasn't necessarily that formation. It was a wing formation. You know what I mean? Like a tray wing, X off. You guys see it? And that X would fly, and you're counting on the guy that's the force guy to set all that stuff back. He's sitting here like this. And so it's got to get all the way across to him, and it's, oh shit. It's got to get down, and your edge ain't what you always want. One guy moves, and all these other guys move. And so we've been through that quite a bit. In Wisconsin, we got a fair amount of that. We had the remnants of Mac Canada system, and so we saw it a bunch. That's when we changed it. So then we said shell. So the whole idea behind shell is that we're just going to put them down, right? And so the safety over here in shell, right? This safety, and we're playing cover 3. So we're in quarters. If it's X off, we're playing 3D. So that safety's down, and this safety is the lane post safety. He's right over top of the Y right now, as your lane post, your corner's off. So that way, when this thing comes over, this safety's already in position, and this safety's already in position. I mean, they're closer to all their work. The guy that's moving now is the corner, right? So we can get the X. So there's an example of shell. This safety should really be over more, right? And then we're going to work over to X. So X on is just roll over quarters where your corner, depending upon the threats, was either a Fox Alert player or a gold player, right? If he's got an eligible alert, right? He's got the vertical. Okay, and then within the front, what we say is if 3 is so I think with X on, or with unbalanced looks, right, there's 2 different types. There's a type where they're trying to remove your safety if you're a 3D team and run power and all that with 2 backs, right? And then there's also the unbalanced to where they got 4 guys out there and there's all these gaps and all this other stuff. And so our rush will say tight or we'll say right or left, right? So like if it is a look like this, right, where 3's in the backfield like this, we're going to say right or left, right? So right just means we're rushing the right outside backer. This could be in the boundary. We could say left, we're rushing him, right? And we're saying, you know, this over here is going to play out as a red hammer. This over here is a Fox Alert, and there's your force defender sitting over here. Now, if this was a spread look like this or this, now we're going to say tight because we don't want to rush this guy. We're wasting him now. I feel like all the shit's over here. So now we just say tight. So now he's sitting here and we're gapped out. Okay, so if 3's in the core, we're going to say right or left. If 3's out of the core, we say tight. So if their people are in, our people are in. If they're out, we're out. There's your DBs. So this goes through all the pictures. So this is how we install, I guess. We don't install it, we used to do it kind of just, here's the formation, alignments, and all that. It's more based upon technique and what your job description is. Right, like I say, it's the spotlight trying to get big. Okay, so this kind of goes all the way through. DB's the same, all that's the same. Now there's our box, there's our switch alert, spy versus empty. There's eagle and there's slide. So here's an example of an eagle look. Your 4-eye, your shade, your 3. Like before, we used to say this was a Roy right here, right? Or a Ray rather, right? Just move the nose, right? And this was a Ram, moving these 2 right here.
That was at Utah State.
Yes. All right, then the other way we installed was, we used to install all off of just personnel, so we'd show all 21.
Can you go back to the one side?
Yes.
So, I know you said it earlier, but just one more time. Why would you call eagle or why would you call slide? What are you trying to stop?
Yeah. So eagle would be if we're feeling that. So like if this was like a zone team, right? If this was a nose right here, and this is the center, and they're going to zone this way, and then we'll push up vertical like this, and this guard is going to come and try to work this way and overtake them here. Let's do that. We're all for that. Let's play that. Let's play like that. But if this, so we wouldn't call it that, or I wouldn't be thinking it then.
You'd be tight.
Yep. But if this center were to do this, right, and this guard were to come down and do that,
Okay.
and block veer, then we need we're working off the wrong guy. We got to work more off of this guy. So now for a shade, we're getting that. We can better position to play that as a duck and get our ass over there, right? Because we're in here, right? I'm working to come off, and I've got to go read it. Oh shit, that's some bullshit, and get into it. We're closer to it. And then backside too. We're at 3 now on the backside. I'm squeezing it on the backside. The other part of that too is we could eagle if they run to certain people. So maybe they run to the back. Maybe they run to the tight end. So this would be eagle left for you. Cross, check eagle right, eagle right, eagle right. And slide that way. So those 2 reasons. And then slide would be their leverage problem. So they got 2 pullers outside our linebackers. So let's say for this right here, this could be a counter play, right? Like a counter, like this would be a quarterback counter right here. So let's say the tight end arcs, right? And we're, the back's working this way, and the quarterback's got the counter coming this way. That would be a problem. So the slide helps us with our edges. It gives us more people on the outside. And so I think, so slide is used for gap schemes and pin and pull schemes. Eagle is used for veer schemes and pointers.
Do you only need the gap schemes with the slide if it's OT though, right?
Or buck sweep, both
Or
guards
buck
pull.
sweep. But eagle would still work if it was OY.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you said though you like almost going the other way sometimes. Didn't you say that? You like eagle in the opposite. You don't put the shade to the double to some of your gap schemes. You put them the other way. You put the shade.
Well, yeah.
Away from
If
the
we eagle to a tight end and counter OY and they go the other way, we're good. I still, because again, and this goes back. Let me see if I can find this picture. It's going to be 3x1. Let's see. Do we have the back on the same side? It doesn't look like we do. All right. Let's say it's this one though. Let's say the back's sitting over here. You see what I'm saying? And let's say they're my counter over here. Okay? So if that's the case, again, this guy isn't tight into this. So if he comes, he ain't coming with him. He's playing pass. He's a knockdown guy. Once pass eliminates, then he's going to tackle whatever breaks. Okay? So they're over here. So let's say for instance, we eagle this side, 4x1. So they were a big down team, right? They block down over here. Right? Instead of them slamming this and working up, we got a shade. Right, so that A-gap's more defined. The rover can put his feet here and fall back as opposed to, what gap do I got when the nose is displaced over here and tight, okay? So we're over here, right, we're seeing him. Right, so we get counter coming this way, and so this is a 3 over here, it's eagle right, so they're gonna squeeze on the 3. Then their guard's gonna block, and the center's gonna block back. Well, there's A-gap over here. We've squeezed off that A-gap pretty consistently with that nose, right? So that thing's been eliminated. Right, and then we get both linebackers over because the end over here, I think that's the other part. I mentioned this here. It's and I failed to kind of recognize it, and I feel like I think it's kind of human nature. I think the position coaches, their coordinators see the defense through their position. I mean, I think it's true of whatever role that you're in, and so like I'll see it through a linebacker's lens, and. I've worked for 2 head coaches now that have been D-line coaches, and both of those guys are both vertical type guys, right? So Gary Anderson and the guy I got now, Coach O, Ed Ogeron. And so I think both of those guys, right, in teaching and talking and learning and all of it, I think understood the value of the tight front and playing the tight front, getting hands on people and all that. That goes against their whole thing, man, how they came up, you know what I mean? The status that they got, that's like flies in the face of all that shit, you know what I mean? So you're telling me when he's here, I'm here, you know what I mean? So all that. Okay, so there's, right? But they understood it. But I think in their viewpoint, from where I'm at now, right, from their viewpoint, they would see it as it's tight defense. We're playing 3-4. They came up in 4-3. So once you got to an over front, once you made a slide call, right? Once you got into any type of 4-3 spacing, for them it was like free. You know what I mean? It's free, and they're thinking vertical. It's 4-3. I can roll now, and so you have to teach against that. you're making that slide call or that eagle call, right? That 3 technique ain't just rolling up here, right? So if this is a guard and I'm a 3, right? I'm squeezing that thing down, right? If it's slide right and I'm a 5 over here, right? That tackle's got to be friction, man. I got to be foot to foot with that tackle. He steps in, I take an in-flight adjust, and I'm squeezing and redirecting that guy. You know what I mean? So you're playing 4-3, 3-4 wise, how they would think. I wouldn't think that. I would think, you know, we have a hard time getting over the blocks, so we're going to move your people so you can reroute those people and I can get over. That's what I'm thinking. You guys see what I'm saying? And so I think that's got to be addressed because I found that out the hard way. They're looking a way just to get up the field. And so, yeah, so if we're to get the counter coming back, right, we would squeeze off that A gap, but then the 3 technique is putting hands on the guard, and he will be compromised some with the down block by the tackle, but you're getting both linebackers over. They're not getting to him. You know what I mean? All right. This was the other thing that we changed with our playbook is, I know I'm probably running out of time, is we did all, regardless of personnel, regardless of whatever, we did 2-back, 2x2, 3x1. We always used to build the playbook off of, here's 21 and 12, here's 11, here's 20, here's 10. And it just didn't make any sense to do that anymore. So this is all 2-back right here. So this is, our alignments in 2-back are this, right? And then our alignments in 2x2 are this. And then our alignments in 3x1 are this. So we did it that way. All right, and then we got into, okay? And these are the fits, so these were problem plays for us. Okay, so there's the, this is just playing straight up, so there's a wedge play. This was a common play. This is probably the number 2 play off the counter OT that we saw, right? The wedge, right? The power without a puller, right? And so like this would be a time where we would want to eagle as an adjustment. We're playing just camp rules or just playing tight, so we're gapped out, okay? A lot of times that Z will fold in as well. All right, here's H boot off of a bunch, so there's a box. All right, here's the reverse. There's our action right there. There's your fox. There's your safety coming down. There's the clue of 1, okay? Here's rail flood, right? So this is a red hammer. Motion's coming this way, right? And so this is going to be switch alert, so they play it that way. There's your fox player, right, the help of the post, okay? All right, here's switch alert over here to this side. This is red hammer over here to this side. All right, so anyways, these are all the fits. Here's counter OT. There's an example of it. Okay, so the rover, rock back, turn back, sending it back. And then these are the plays that we saw throughout the year. All right, so a lot of these are not good. We picked the ones, these are all the problem plays. So you can see right here, you want this safety, you want this corner fitting in right here. He's really excited about getting out. And so we would install this way, and then we put all these plays in. All right, we're in eagle head right here, and we get sealed on the back end, out in the flat. This was our worst game by far. This is a humbling game. All right, so there's your H boot. Get the back out. There's your reverse coming back. There's your wing with fly motion. This is your rail. There's the rover on this rush. Let's see. All right, right here. There's your counter. So this was a common, or your QB counter. This was a common play. It's a great
Was
job
that
by
switch
the
alert off that fly motion?
Yeah, I think.
Did they go switch alert? They were switch alert before, right?
Yes.
And then off the fly motion, when it arced, corner stayed.
Yeah.
And he took the
Yeah. So this is an example. You guys see how we are, we're slid over here. This is slide right. So the angles here would be worse if we're in tight.
Was that because it was a wing set?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we slid to the tight end.
Or was it to a tight end, or was it because it was a wing?
Tight end.
Yeah. Do you ever teach that 5 to cross tight end face on down block?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the angle of the block. Yeah. If he comes, most people are not going to see us as vertical push, so it doesn't happen too much, but yeah. So anyways, this thing will go on and on. Am I out of time?
No, keep
No,
going.
I'm good? Okay. All right, and so we would install and we would go through this cut-up. So here's a bad example of the F right here. He's got to see run. So there's his pat the feet, and he's playing pass. I think this is what happens when you get beat down. You start seeing ghosts. So all of the problem plays that we saw, those are the plays that we're repping in the winter. And so, like, I think I would not do it this way had I not been the 2 years here. I would play it different if I was at Wisconsin. But there was such a copycat deal. I think there's merit to it. You know what I mean? Because we're going to see it again and again. Especially in that first game. We have Miami first. Notre Dame again. All right, there's your counter OT. All right, so this is a good example. Okay, and so we got beat. They scored on this drive. So I think in the third quarter, when is this? Okay, fourth quarter, 11 minutes. Okay, so they got 6 points. So they scored 2 field goals. All right, and so this is offense been scoring a lot of points, doing all that stuff. Okay, and so you can tell that. I mean, they're running the quarterback. They're doing all the stuff they're doing, right? And I feel like we're leveraged. We're playing well. You can feel like they're searching. You know what I mean? They're trying to find something. It's a Rolodex. They're trying to find something. Okay, so they run the counter OT, and we slid the front because we can get counter out the other way. And so when we get the shade to this, say I'm a QB right here, and there's a back right here, and the back's working this way, right? And they're pulling both the guard and tackle here. If we had a bubble to that side, we played that as an exchange, right? Because they're going to block out in the shade, so that end would chase. And that linebacker is responsible to whoever call you guys have, the squeeze and scrape, whatever else, where he would stay and play the cue, okay? And we did that to build it, to try to account for the numbers or the angles that they're creating over there, to not fight through all of that. Let's hit at this, okay? And so that took being on the same page and communication and a tap and everything else. So they hit us with one time in the third quarter, and this was an A run. So like all the plays we see, we feel like these are the A runs, A passes. These are the things we must stop. Those are the stuff that's diagrammed in that thing, right? These are A runs, A passes. So what does that mean? That means every walkthrough we have, we're repping that, right? Every run period, we're repping it. And we're not going to go through a day where we're not repping it, you know what I mean? And then the other part of that is who is seeing it. How many times did your ones see it? How many times did your twos see it? You know what I mean? So the attention and care is paid to that. Okay. Then 2 is going to be your B runs and B passes. So those are things that are kind of like their change-ups, right? If you have like a 5 or 4 game break, then that may be 5 reps, 4 reps maybe. You know what I mean? And so those are things we rep every other day. Okay. And then the last thing are your C runs. Right? And your C runs are your game plan runs. And so I think once you go to the game, so the game plan is, hey, is this an inventory that the dude has that he just pulls out? Or are these plays that they've repped, that they've seen other people get beat on, that they're pulling out from that? You know what I mean? Where is that coming from? That's helpful to know. Okay. And so this was an A run. And so, I mean, it pains me to say it, man. We lost this bowl game because we got beat on an A run. You know what I mean? But this is our guy, the guy that said that. So when this hit, this is after the first series. The first series they did this. I think they got in position to score a field goal. The series before this. So this is the series after. And so it's drawn up. We showed to them. They come on out, and we didn't get it right. And so here's an example, right? This should be a squeeze by the end. The linebacker stays for the cue. Right, you see 43 wants to build a splatter this. 40's coming out too wide. You know, I hate to blame him. He knows the play. He knows what's coming. He's got to play that. He's got to play it as opposed to trying to cheat it.
Dave, you find splatter, please?
Yeah, splatter would be splatter and trace would be the same. So if this was a block coming at us like that. So let's say I'm a trace player. Let's say we're playing field 3. We're going to rush the F, and there's a tight end right here. what we want to be able to do is be a yard off, and we'll push off this foot, step with this, and I want to take this hand right into his numbers and open them up this way, right? So I square them up, right? So I'm strong here and here. My eyes are lower than the blocker's eyes, and is inside your hole, and playing the inside. And so we want to play, if we got a counter or we got a spill opportunity, we want to play that same way. We call that splatter.
So 43 should have been underneath this?
Yes. Yep. You should have opened them up and come underneath, and 40 should have leveraged this and get it to the end. Get it to Christian.
So we wanted the tackle to go around the guard there?
Yes. So he's in great shape right here, but he's got to open up the other way. I think he took the cheese that the Notre Dame guy was giving him. You know? He gave him a soft shoulder and he bit. All right, let's see. All right, down play. And so here for me, so we were talking about this before. And so this is, at Wisconsin we did this. So a lot of these are going to be the fails, you know. So at Wisconsin we did, and I thought we did a good job. At LSU I have not. I have not asked for it, and we're asking for it now. And this is an example of it. Okay, is the DB technique by footwork, you know. And so, and I don't know, man. What I struggled with at LSU was I didn't want to be someone that's talking out of my space. I ain't played DB. I've coached DBs twice. I'm not an expert on DBs. It makes sense for me though. When I'm watching it, if I see their footwork, I know that they know what the play is, what their responsibility is. Their footwork is the signature of that technique. You see what I mean? And so here's an example. This right here, this play. Okay, so we've got this safety up top. Okay? And he's tied into the fit here. We got this safety right here. He is not, because he's in the backfield. This is goal. We don't tie him in. So he's a walkout guy. So he should be an aggressor. He should be a protector. Now, the way that we did it prior till now is that we talked about that. And we said, hey, man, you're to a tight end, you're in the fit. If you're out, not to a tight end, you're not in the fit. But we didn't do anything with the footwork. You know what I mean? And so what ended up happening was, I think I don't really know. I mean, I haven't asked them, right? But I feel what ends up happening there is that there's nothing to hold them. There's nothing to sign your name off on. There's nothing to own. And so then it just becomes, you know what I mean? Maybe they don't know it. Maybe they don't remember it. Maybe it's the heat of the moment. Shit's moving fast, and I'm just kind of playing, whatever it is. And I feel like when it gets to that, the footwork can take over. You know what I mean? You can settle in. Your footwork can play. So like to me, in this safety up top, when all that comes in, he comes in, right, and he pats his feet and gets his run pass read. This safety down below, because he's out, he's walking out. You know what I mean? Right, and so it would be the same. It's like the walkout footwork, pat your feet forward. If I'm an overhang guy, if I'm a nickel or an F or a B, and I'm in an apex, we pat our feet. You know what I mean? Because what this thing is, you know, there's this, and there's a bubble, or there's some shit, there's a slant. So the thing is, there's only one ball. You know what I mean? If it was like this, and there was another ball that kind of came out of the sky and went over, then that would be a big problem. But there's just one ball, so there's like, so I'm not going to don't give the quarterback a quick decision, you know what I mean? Right? Give him a slow one. Pat your feet. Stay right there. Right? So when all this is happening, so the pat the feet, I think, ties that in, you know what I mean? Because if you don't, then what ends up happening is it may be a clear run and a guy's diving up, right? It may be a clear pass and a guy's getting back. And you want it to have some structure. I think the footwork is, I mean, I feel like I'm probably talking out of turn, but I feel like that helps me anyways. When I watch it, I know that they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Right here, I just see guys bouncing around trying to survive right now. And so that's tough to look at. All right. So anyways, this thing goes on and on. Let me see. Let me see if I can, so there's more. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I wanted to show you guys this. So all of these would be the same. I'll take you through the linebacker one real quick. So hawk. So we did this at the first year at LSU, and we did not do it. We did not do it last year. We had struggled to play nickel. We're going to do it this year, okay? And so what I'm talking about is out of nickel versus 11 and 20 and everything else, the ability to play tight, the ability to play under, the ability to play over. I think that's huge. I think that's a big, big piece. And I feel like us not being able to do that last year, I think that hurt us, okay? And so with the same people, the ability to play over. So here's the problem with playing over when you're a tight defense, is that it's recruiting, right? And we're scouring. I remember at Wisconsin, we go to any high school in Wisconsin, there'd be some, I remember the fairs at Wisconsin, man. I mean, they got all the beer flowing and everything, and there's the music's playing, and you just saw the largest white people you ever see. And just like mountain people, man, just walking around, and it's just like it's the land of power forwards, man. You know what I mean? It's the land of power forwards in Wisconsin, and it's the land of tackles and O-linemen and 4 eyes. You know what I mean? Okay, but here's the problem is, so you recruit that dude to be a 4 eye, and now all of a sudden you go over, and now you're a 5. Now you're a 6. You guys see what I'm saying? And so when we first got to LSU, we had a dude that they were recruited for 4-3, and so there was a guy that had it was a kind of a 6 technique, 7 technique guy, was 270, kind of undersized, but had some snap to him. We took a bit of a risk having him play that 4 eye. He did a great job, but it allowed us to play over. And at the time, I didn't really see it as, yeah, man, we're doing this and we're doing that. This past year, we played with almost exclusively all nose guards. There was a nose guard at one end, there was a nose guard at the nose, there was a nose guard at the other end. And so it became very obvious that, hey, we move them out to a 5. What the fuck? You know what I mean? And so we didn't do it. And what I'm saying now is that hurt us. Is that you're going to get schemed up with just all your tight stuff. Okay?
So
having the ability,
smaller guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think having the ability to have athletic guys is key, right? As opposed to the mountain men. You know what I mean? I think that there's merit to it. But then I also think, right, whatever stretch you have to make to play over, I think there's merit to it, right? Because the runs that you're going to, much like when you are playing when you're playing 4, right, and now all of a sudden you're playing spot drop 3, the routes that are beating up 4, you're fitting them up in 3, and then vice versa. It's the same thing from not so much odd to under, but odd to over. You know what I mean? It complements it great, okay? And I think there's a lot of merit to it. And so that's what this is, all right? So all we're going to do with this, here, let me.
Now, would you
You
slant
pass
to
the
it?
run
Would you slant?
game?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about run game or going to pass when it's passing game?
Run game.
Run game?
Run game, yeah. Now, pass-wise, it helps you because of the edges that you got. But I think run game, it helps you. Yes. For all of like the counter plays and all of the, all of the down plays, right? I think having that overlook when all you've shown on film is tight, I think there's merit. When you're putting someone in the C gap and in tight, there's nobody in the C gap. You know what I mean? There's merit to it. And then having the 3 on the front side, so the counter T, where they're blocking out with the guard and they're pulling the tackle. Right, over fits great versus that. You got your 3 there, and you can squeeze all that cross face, as opposed to with 4 eyes and be a little bit late with it. Now, the one thing we do off of this is we call it sting, and so I was trying to pull up Sawdog. I'm probably not going to go that. Okay, so like, let's say.
Do you need Jamie to help you?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
He's
So
up time.
okay, it's time. Okay.
No, it's not time. I think, isn't that what you're referring to?
No, it's good.
You got it?
Yeah. So let's say we're in Sawdog right now. So Sawdog is 4 eyes, 0 nose, and we're bringing the nickel and the B. So that's all that is. Okay. There's merit. I think like we talked about the playing bear. We call it like diamond. So we play diamond, like diamond dog. There's merit to that. right? Stemming from tight to bare and bare to tight. Easy for us, it's hard for them, I think. You know what I mean? All right, so there's that. Now, so tight, so when we're running sawdog, all right, and we're bringing, over the center, there's your 4 eyes here, and you're bringing your outside guys, right? We're really keeping it kind of that way. The only adjustment we're making is if it's empty, we'll twist it, you know what I mean? We'll net it. So if it's empty, we'll net it, right? The nose will work to the boundary, and that boundary end, 4 eye, will loop inside. Quarterback draw, or whatever else, okay? Outside of that, we're playing it. Now, here's the thing, right? If we're in sting and we're in an over front, so I'm gonna say this is a lake or river sets it. So lake left, river right. So say if it's lake, I'm a 3. We used to call this two-face. We say long stick now because that's the way I think some of our people understand it better. So if it's long stick, I'm gonna slant here and I'm gonna work right to the center. And I'm gonna work right off of that. So that's the 0 nose. You see what I'm saying? Right? Here's the G over here. Right? He's gonna leap out this way. Right? And then he's gonna have a B gap rush. So that's your 4 eye. You guys see what I'm saying? And so when we bring the nickel off the edge, right? This end over here is in a track. That's your 4 eye. Your nickel rushing off the edge. So you're going to have someone right here in an A gap area. You're going to have a dude over here, an end over here in a B gap area. You're going to have a tackle over here in the B gap area. You're going to have 2 edge rushers. You can see what I mean? So those fits are the same, right? So the saw dog fits and the sting fits are the same. We keep it the same, right? Now what's got to happen is, like I said, if this is a bubble over here in sting. So sting is just nickel from the field, 4-man rush or 5-man rush. That's what we're saying. Okay. So there's a B gap over here. That end over here has got to be playing it as the end's got to be playing as if it's a B, right? So I say if you're in saw dog, he's got some width to him, right? He's a surf player versus zone read, so he's sitting, and the whole thing, he's got the outside edge of the QB. That's what he's got to play now in sting, and using the loop of the G to a 3 tip. You guys see what I'm saying? So we all got to be agreeing on that for the fits to be the same. Otherwise,
does he go to a 3 or does he go to a 4 eye?
It depends on the block, but yeah, he'll go to a B gap area.
B gap area.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So this is Hawk 1, right? And so we have river and lake calls. So the B will always be in the boundary. So if we need to, on a look over, get to a tight front, we can get the tight. So the B's in the boundary, right? So if we get a look over or the offense is changing something, we can get out of it and get to tight defense. And so the ability, right, to get from odd to over, right? Odd to under, I think there's a lot of merit to, but odd to over is another thing. Okay, and so here's midline. So like if we get midline, this was a run that we saw quite a bit with quarterbacks. That end's going to sit and play the Q, and then the max going to play A the ball. Okay, here's your counter. All right, here's your counter T. So I mean, I like this fit better than the tight look versus this.
So Dave, you've just determined one of those ends is a 3 tick.
Correct. Correct.
And one of those ends is a 5 tick.
Yeah. No, I think it's more based upon the field. The B's of the boundary. This is a good point.
Yeah.
So I think let's talk about this. So like say, the biggest issue is if I were to have my druthers all of it and all of these cats would be the same, then it wouldn't matter. We would just slide it. So
right.
The nose would be the 3,
exactly.
The nose would be the G,
and
all of it.
Yes.
But if they're not, like our nose right now is a great knockback 0 nose. The dude is 6 foot 350.
Right.
And so there may come a time where he's playing a 3, but just right now it's just hard to do, man. It's just hard to do that. You know what I mean? And so we got him playing nose. You know what I mean?
So how do you stem to it?
We wouldn't stem to it. When I look over, we would line up in it. Yeah. So if they
look
looked over,
come back over.
yeah.
You
So
got
just,
to explain the
yeah.
theory.
So this is always to the field. This is always to the boundary. Just these two would switch.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's not like a switch coach.
What's that?
You might travel with your 3 and
Yes.
go overstage, so they'll switch
Yes.
with the call.
Yes. So if they were to look over, we would work back. Now, so let me say this. If we're in peso, which peso would be this,
Pesos are an angle.
Yeah.
This is our bow.
Right. So let's say we're in peso here. And let's say we look like that. So both of these guys are 3 techniques, so it don't matter. You see what I'm saying? The issue ain't really the 3 or the 5, the issue is the nose. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't get trained. He gets trained in nose, you know what I mean? He doesn't get trained in 3, right? And so that's that. Right now, the problem with this is, like, all this is great. So, like, if the tight end was over here, you would go to river. The tight end was over here, you go to lake, and it just didn't matter, right? And so we could get all that great. The problem with that is playing odd out of that. At Wisconsin, we did. You know, the B would come in and play a 4, or that F would come in and play a 4 odd, which, I mean, I'm not too hyped about doing that again. You know, we just don't have guys that kind of fit that mold, right? So we don't do it. Right? Now, out of this, we can get to odd off of, for pass looks. So like say right here, if we said far,
Which is our slug.
yeah, if we said far, we're getting this look right here. Right? Now, we could say load is our term. And load, so like this is far, and then let's say we have breeze, 2 packer, let's say. This is an N, F, B. So the load stuff, Coach, you remember at Utah State, we had a lot of load. I think the guy that's at Texas now does all the load stuff. He does it with personnel. We're going to do it more with just pesos. Like, say we're in breeze and we get this look, right? So he's on 2, he's on 3, he's on 2. We're clouding here, playing quarters there. Well, we could say load, and now we can move the foot. So we can get the odd, but not for the run. For the pass, we can't.
Right, you got load, nug, and invert.
Right. So let's say if it was like this, so where's the back? Right, and we want to say load far. We're moving these guys we're loading them to the F, load breeze. We're loading them to the B, to the boundary, load far to the field. So now it's going to look like this.
So now you can declare man protection.
Right, so now we look like that.
And now you're running the same pressure.
Right. And you can do whatever, however you want it to do it, like that. Right, and this one's the same way. So you're showing in here and you're getting out. He's contained, so it looks like that. And so that way is easy. You may load it either way. Now, at Utah State, we did that with little people. So we had one D lineman in the game, and little people would come in and move around. The problem with us doing that now is once we bring in little people, people run the ball. If it's 3rd and 8, they're still running the ball. So your little people for us come into play like 3rd and 12, and at that point, is it worth the investment, man? You know what I mean? To have all that. So we used to call that cowboy and lightning and this whole thing. You know what I mean? And so we just do it on peso, right? So you can move your people that way. So that's a way to get from to odd. Looks. Let me say one more thing with this. Once you go load, what people will do is they'll block to the side that's loaded. You know what I'm saying? And so the ability on this is, so let's say you want to load the back. And so let's say you got this and you got this, right? There's merit in bringing a rusher here in this B gap, just doing this. Right, because what you're going to get is stuff like this. So having some way, so like say whether it's this end or this end slants in, the rover rushes out, or something like that. And once you're in a load game, you want something away from the B gap, away from the load.
Away from the load.
Yeah. Now I think you can balance everything else out.
Is it critical, like for us, when we started going load, I thought it was critical that the end showed as a drop.
Yeah.
As soon as he shows that he's coming, now they're not identifying it as rookie, they're identifying it as 4 down, and they're going to check the slide to that side.
Right. Yeah, and I think the look of all of it, I think the ability to bring somebody here in the B gap, I think the look of that end that's up, I think all of that. And then the disguise on the back. I think all that's got to be
I
tied.
thought the low spike was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can
That was
show
the best one.
that you're coming from
Yeah.
here and that you're dropping from over there.
Yeah, we used to call that gigs when we played cowboy. But so the ability in to play over out of nickel people, I think is important. So like, this is what we're starting. I think maybe you guys can understand that. I think for me the idea would be like when we start with all of it, right? And we got the head coach in our room, and he feels there's a 3 is a 3 and a nose is a nose. Then the 3 is the 3 and the nose is the nose. You see what I'm saying? And we're going to go with that. And what I'm going to do on my end of it is I'm going to make sure that the tight end yums and motions across. And so that when he yums and motions across, if we flip it like that, then let's put it on tape and let's talk about it then. You see what I mean? That's what I'll do. You know what I mean? And then where that ends up is probably be the best for everybody. Okay? But yeah, this is nickel. This is Hawk 1. So we didn't play this last year. We didn't play it this past year. We played it 2 years ago, and it was really good. Let me see if I can find. Let me show you guys one more thing. If it's downloaded, here we go. All right. These people ran to a tight end, so that's eagle right up top. So let's look. Let me see here. Look at our safety over here to the right. You see him start to walk out. He's in the fit. That's a freshman safety. So this is a freshman here. Freshman, freshman, freshman. Freshman nose guard. Safety up top. So you pat his feet. He's in the fit. He's got the C gap. What helped us here, I thought, was the fact that we're eagle and C95 with the shade. You see the knockback. So they ran to the tight end. Wherever it was, they were running to the tight end. Forty did a good job of pacing it. This is eagle left. So this is red hammer up top. Okay. So this is quarters. It doesn't imagine it don't look like quarters. Right? We're looking at the indicator in here. We're falling back.
Both of them on the indicator cup?
Yes, sir. Yep. And so we're both reading this guy. So if he were to state, so let me say this: we use the term indicator and then we use the term pointer. So what the indicator means is, in this instance right here, if that's a tight end off the ball like that, okay, right? If he goes in or if he goes inside or he goes back, that affects me. If he goes out, my eyes go back to the tailback. You guys see what I'm saying? So like if he goes out, if he's out like this, my eyes go right back to the tailback, and I'm picking up the spot for pulls. Okay? So in other words, I'm not going out. Right? If he's here and he reaches out like this, it's just as if it's trips and shit he's sitting over here. See what I'm saying? Okay? My eyes go back down. If he's an indicator and he comes in the core like this, like inserts, or he split flows, that's why we see him, so we come back. Now, if we're in dog, 3 under, 3 deep, right? We could use the term pointer for him. So now it matters where I go. You guys see what I'm saying? So if I go out, that max got to go with him. You see what I mean? Right? If he goes in, we're in. If he goes back, I go back. So we use that. We didn't do that before. We had Matt Canada as our coordinator, and you play his offense. You see the difference between indicator and pointer. You see what I'm saying? So let's say there's a wing over here, or there's a sling like this, and let's say there's a twins over here. Twins, right? And we're in 3 deep, and they got flat motion. Here comes flat motion coming this way. Well, if we're in quarters, we'll adjust from 2 by 2, we'll bump to 0.50s, and we're going to see him. Because it could be counter, it could be split zone coming back with the fly, right? If it's any of that, we're rocking back. If it's any type of reach, the F's setting the edge, and this safety's playing hammer to the side, so he's your fill. Then this linebacker plays, say it's fly this way, and say it's a zone with a wind back here. He's playing the wind back of the zone. You all see it? And the rover's playing the A gap. And so the indicator over there, he goes out, we're still playing in. But let's say if it's 3 deep or fire zone, like we bump it, you know what I mean? We bump the fire zone. I know there's a lot of people that rock with the motions, but we bump it. I think this would be interesting for you guys to, or I guess for me to hear from you guys. The problem that I've had, and I know I'm biased, so that probably colors it, okay? But the problem that I've had for linebackers when they're rocking and rolling is, because the idea is you like them to know, hey, you're not moving, you're in it, and I realize that's the argument. My struggle is that their job still changes even though they haven't moved. You guys see what I'm saying? And so that's the struggle I have. So that's almost more difficult for me. You know what I mean? If you move, much like we talked about with the DB footwork, if you move, if your footwork ties you in, right? If I move, if I know I'm dropping off a 2 and now I got a bump over here to my new number 2, that's my fit. But if I stay over here and I'm on 2, but now I'm on 3 or whatever it is, our guys, we bust with that. And I probably am too critical with that. I probably look for that with too keen of an eye. So anyway, so let's say we're in 3 deep and we're bumping. So this rover, we're bringing 23 right here. So he's rushing. He's dropping on 2. He's dropping on 3. There's twins over here. There's a guy dropping on 2. So there's motion. So now we're bumping. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this. So now this is the pointer now for both of these cats. For him too. You guys see what I'm saying? Because if he arcs, right, we get this coming right here. We're going to need him. But now who's going to be playing the bend? You see what I'm saying? As he works on over, then the DB's coming in and playing right here. Okay, so that's the point, right? So if we're in any form of single high, it's pointer. If it's any type of quarters, it's indicator. Those are the terms. Let's see. All right, right here, this is eagle right. There's a good example. You can see what they're trying to get with the nose. See the guard trying to climb up and having the shade over there. You know, I like playing up is eagle right. You got a 3 technique up top. See how the tackle's pulling? I like having a 3 when that's the case, as opposed to a 4-eye.
And you cross them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You cross all the T-poles.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of said about that
This is better with the footwork, with the safety. That's good to see by him. This was the other thing. We played a lot of base, and so these were our best players, the outside linebackers. But what we had problem with Red Hammer was the safety playing Red Hammer on the slot. And so we took out the safety and put in the nickel. And so we played base with a nickel. The nickel played the safety spot. That's the nickel up top.
Hey, Coach,
All he's doing is playing 0 anyways.
where do you like to align that field backer? Is you like him at 5 yards? You like him closer to the box?
His base rule would be the apex, the midpoint of the tackle, and the number 2 receiver. And he wants to be a linebacker depth, ideally. So he's seeing the triangle over here. So he wants to pad his feet, right? And then he's reading that triangle of the in-man line of scrimmage to the flow.
Yes.
So part of his things would be, and if he got a tackle pull, he's going to have to sit because he's the edge because we're crossing with the 3. But let's say, we want some awareness. There's a wing away. We want some awareness. The back is deep. All of those things would be great. Okay. It's hard to have that in the first conversation with him, right? But I think he wants to be able to sit. If flow is coming to him, if I'm an outside backer here, and flow is coming downhill to me, right? After I pat my feet here and I get run, I'm gonna meet it that way. If flow is going fast or wide outside, right? Then I'm not approaching it that way. We don't teach it like that. So if flow's going fast or wide outside, now I'm working here to this. To that number 2. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right? Now the split has something to do with that. If they oversplit you, then they give it to you, then go ahead and take it.
Right.
Okay? But generally, they're going to try to block you when the ball's coming out. So we want to work so I think if you're that outside guy and you try to dip up underneath that, maybe you make the play, maybe you don't. If you don't, you fuck the safety, right? If you're that outside backer and the flow goes out and you try to cross face the number 2, then you're dicking the linebacker, you know what I mean? So the best way, I think, is to work across his face. Yeah.
If they check
They-
bang, assuming he go +1.
What's that?
If they check bang, that outside linebacker.
You'll be 1 by 5.
1 by 5.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do Nate on a full stomach, right?
Dave,
Yes.
Afterwards?
Coach Aranda.
Yes.
You said the outside backer, number 2,
Yeah.
him out, he can cross that line.
You go right across, you go right through his face. Yeah, so yes, he's going to cross it, but go right through his face.
Okay.
Yeah, so if this is the number 2 receiver coming right here, he wants to go right through here.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to just, because the thing, this is always a good conversation. I think that at the end of the argument, the safety's position to make him right. That would be my qualifier, okay? But here's the thing, that all of this is happening way over there. You got me? All the run, the action that he's seeing is happening way over there. You guys see what I mean? And so if the run is going sideways and this dude just jumps outside, what is he going to see? Right? If the run is sideways and this guy just jumps straight in and we get pinned, what is he going to see? So what we want to be able to do is get the gray, get the friction. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times if that's coming and he's working this way, and especially, let me say this, if it's a linebacker, we get it. If it's a nickel, it's a little bit harder proposition. Okay? But if it's a linebacker, I can get enough of this where that thing can fall back, much like a 4-eye would, and fall back on it.
Like a primary, secondary.
Yeah. But it all goes down to, hey man, it's happening over here. And the stuff you're reading is over here. All right. That's eagle right. So you see how they're trying to work to get that guard over? So these tackle wraps are difficult. We got to pick them up through the spot right here. So there's the pull. We got to get over.
You have to treat the tackle fold on the zone scheme different from the tackle wrap. What do you tell those backers? So if it was zone fold, he would be thinking, stay behind the ball, right? And if it's tackle wrap, he's thinking, get over the top.
Yeah, so if you're talking about fold in here.
Fold and it's a
Yes.
zone, yes.
Yes.
As opposed to the wrap.
Correct, yeah.
We saw more fold in tackle. When I was in the SEC,
Yeah.
Rick and I would talk,
Yeah.
we were always seeing the tackle
Yeah.
trap.
Right.
But here, I've seen more fold on the backside.
Yeah.
Did you guys get much of that?
Yeah. These guys do a great job of it. The O-line guy here.
So what would be the different coaching point for
The rover, the Mac in this instance, he's leveraging whatever comes this way.
Right.
So whether it's this block or whatever it is, he's leveraging back to him. And the rover over here, he's thinking, hey, anything comes from the sea, I'm spilling because I got the safety.
Right.
So we just play our rules.
I guess, I'll talk to you later, but I guess I'm talking about sometimes that follow the line back
For,
opposite fold,
yes.
and the backside backer had to be the support.
Yeah, you're talking about off of this right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then 23 had to play the cue. The back was on the other side and it was on fold.
Okay.
But then if you got tackle trap like this,
Right.
48 has to get over the top.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna need to have that drawn up.
Okay.
And then I can get it.
You got a shot with that shade, that helps tremendously.
Yeah.
What's
I
that?
had to read that,
Yeah.
whether it's full or tackle trap. So the zero technique would be that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that shade helps tremendously.
I know it helps you, but it's a
still
different play. Yeah.
Track.
This is eagle left. This is still tight. So we try to teach a freeze rush whenever we're rushing. So we want to get right to the feet. Much like a running back would work on a linebacker in your one-on-one man coverage competitions, right? Is how we would want to rep versus O-line. We want to get right to their feet, freeze the inside foot. With Pete and all that, it would be a bob swat. We're not so big on using our hands and being physical. We like to be able to use athleticism, and we're a little guy, you're a big guy, and do it like that more. So this would be a crossover dribble pass rush. Especially if they're getting to where they're fanning on an outside guy, right? Once we clear run and his pass, we got the ability to hit him before he's settled.
Coach, you said y'all were playing quarters,
Yes. Yep.
so your outside guys are not rushers, they're playing, how do you accomplish that?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Can I get this right?
Yes.
Hey, what'd you say, Mike? Hey. He's crazy, man.
All right. There's two ways. So if we're in quarters, there's tight 4, and then there's wizard 4. So this past year we played a lot of tight 4, and I think the reason for it is our rover was our best player, and he was the weak inside linebacker. He was rushing. 2 years ago we played almost all wizard, and wizard, if it is a 2-by-1 or a 3-by-1, the weak outside linebacker is rushing. If it's 2-by-2, we're just playing tight. And so we did 2 years ago. We played a lot of wizard because our best player was that guy right there. Okay. Now I think as an overall though, if I'm unsettled throughout the week of watching people and stuff's going this way, and stuff's going that way, and stuff's coming this way, but it's going that way at the same time, if it's like that, I like tight. Because I like having the edges, and I like having the guys inside that can fit off of it, right? If the offense is more like this, I like tight. If the offense is more like this, I like wizard. You know what I mean? Because I like the B rushing, because there's pass rush. So like, what does this mean? This means screens. This means Zorros, power reads. This means rail floods, right? This means speed options, fly sweeps. You guys see what I'm saying? I like tight. But if they're more of a, hey, this is, what was it, like a true 11 personnel, there's the tight end, there's the 2 receivers, and we're in tray, and the tight end ain't moving, and the quarterback, this, I like wizard. You know what I mean? Because the rush is better, okay? And then if it's true just traditional run game, and there's not occupied with flies and all this other stuff that's changing strength and changing this and changing that, I like wizard. But the more moving parts, I like tight. Because tight is, there's not a lot of moving parts to it. We may be at fault of creating it, you know what I mean? Creating something. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So like, if we're just playing tight, so let's say this is tight right here. So if we were to be in nickel, that's our B, right? Nickel's going to be in this apex. Safety's going to sit out here, and this is going to be red hammer to this side, okay? And so, the safety's going to be locked on 2. Corner over here is playing loose man, which means he's got one vertical. If one goes shallow, he's going to let it go, right? Zone off, but everything else he's locked on 1. Red hammer means you got 2 up and you got 2 out. If 2 goes in right now, you can zone the quarter. Okay, so the nickel is sitting inside in this apex, okay, and he is your nail hook player. So he's going to relate to 2. He's going to take 3 the flat. Then we have our rover and our Mac. If it's 3-by-1, we're 0-50s. We look like this. We have this other safety. He's going to be up over this tackle to not undress that cat right there. And so if this is, so the footwork here, we like for this guy to pat his feet. If he's in the fit, if he's not in the fit, we like for him to walk out. Okay? So if we were playing Wisconsin, he would be a walkout player. Right? If we were playing Louisville, he would be a pat the feet player. Okay? And being an alley runner. So pat the feet.
Quarterback run or not quarterback run?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he'd be run to pass here, he'd be pass to run there.
Can you go back over what you do with the safety again?
Yes.
To the field?
Yes. And so he'd be 10 yards, okay? And so you saw on film a lot of times they would cheat it down. If you feel comfortable about the matchup, we'll cheat it, okay? But he'd be 10 yards, and so red hammer is going to be matching 2 to the out, matching the vertical, okay? And he's thinking inside leverage is what he's thinking, okay? Now, the only time we move that red hammer safety to outside leverages two back fox alert, right? So if say it's like slot, for example. If it's slot and there's nub and there's two backs in the backfield and there's a number 2 over there, we'll play red hammer, but he'll move to outside leverage because he's got the fox safety. You guys see what I'm saying? Okay. Outside of that, we're thinking inside leverage. Okay, so he's at 10 yards, and the corner over here can be pressed. Anytime we say hammer, he can be pressed. So like, say, if it's quarters, we've got hammer, we've got red hammer, and then we've got nail. So hammer is going to be your true quarters.
It's our pack.
Yeah. So
Red hammers are strong.
So true quarters, I mean the outside backer takes 2 to the flat, right? And so they say it's hammer. So like, what would be an example? Let's say we're like this. Okay, let's say we're a safety here. So this is hammer over here. This is red hammer. So if this were to go to the flat, the B would take it in tight or wizard, right? 2 goes inside like this, right? 2 goes vertical, the safety matches. So if we get a block by the tight end, we get 2 to the flat, we get 2 underneath, this becomes a fox player. Pushes to the post. The corner stays locked. So, hammer is your true quarters, outside backer taking 2 to flat. Red hammer is now the outside backer is a nail hook defender. He wants to pack it in on the vertical and not give him the bend. He takes 3 to flat. And then we're saying nail is going to be safety and corner, cooling 2. And 2 immediately goes to the flat, right? His corner will harden his feet and safety will work over. If it ain't that, then they're locked up. Okay, so like, I feel like we run a lot more red hammer than nail, just because red hammer is a little bit more black and white. Nail, at times, there's some gray in there.
Now yours, back at the top, the safety, if he's on the to the boundary in the 3x1.
Yes, this one.
If he's a walk safety,
Yes.
what is his?
Yeah, so he's a walk, so he's going to walk to. Well, let me go back. I think I have this as Trey. So if it's Trey, I'm sorry, he'd be playing goal. So he's got 3 vertical right here. If
Okay.
it's goal.
Okay.
So we would only get to it. It's my fault. We would only get to it if it's this. If it's true trip. So if it's Trey, we just play goal this
Okay.
way. And so we use him in here and we use the safety here.
All right.
Now once it gets to this, now we're playing it. So now we're this way. Okay, so now this would be stubby for us. And so we're going to be playing these 2 on. So all these guys are playing is nail
Gotcha.
on 2 and 3.
All right.
And so now you've got this safety sitting right here and how you want to use them. And so if we have a walkout safety, it's going to play out a lot like a fox player. He's going to close the post on the action. Now he would take a quarter track to now undress the corner and then close the post. If we're going to use him as a pat the feet safety when he's in the out. Right? And so, the majority of the runs, like this would be one of the runs we got. This is this one. And so, I think, let's say we're here, we're here, we're here. Get something like that. We get quarterback power. So we use this guy. So we look like that. That's the 5th. We're playing that. So like if we're playing Florida or we're playing Mississippi State or we're playing Auburn, we're patting our feet. If we're playing Miami, it looks like right now, we're walking out. Okay. But
Did you ever change it where the back was?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm fine.
Yep. Yep. There's a lot of merit in 4x1s, playing them in pat your feet, and 3x1s, playing them in a walkout. Let's say, okay, so, but coach, to answer your question with tight, so like say for instance, so having this guy out here, right, is helpful for the edge stuff that we see right here. As this goes and the safety's going to come on over and play red hammer, right? it's helpful that he's always dropping. The rover's always rushing. He rushes just on true pass. And so, like say for instance, right, if I'm the rover and there's a run action, taking my attack steps, right? If it's an RPO, it's a 3-man rush. You know what I mean? Right? And say I pop my feet and it's pass, and it's 3-step. We got to ID what is 3-step. We got to make sure that's a thing. You know what I mean? And there's video of it, and we've repped it. We want them to be flat, right? So if it's a slant over there to the twins, right? This nickel over here, he's not squeezing 2, he's pushing the 1. The Max pushing the 2. You know what I mean? Right? And so then, so there's that, right? And then obviously you got your draws and everything else that you got to clear. Okay. Once that's cleared, so now we get the rush of the rover. And so now we're talking about how do they block it, right? Are they fan blocking it? And we're thinking that's really going to be an A-gap insert, right? If it ain't, they're sliding it, then I'm reading the guard to the boundary for us. So let's say you're the linebacker, right? I'm the guard to the boundary, okay? And so there's a B right here, right? And so, yeah, I mean, towards the end, you know, man, it is so encouraging when the players are saying shit that you say. And it's like, man. You know what I mean? So I said, there's a B over here, and so either the rover's going to line up, and you know, a lot of it is going to be tied into when it affects them. When there's possibility for them to make a play, you know what I mean? They're going to listen maybe a little bit harder. And so I say, he's over here. If that guard works this way, he's thinking they're a slide team. I know they're going to work to the B. You know what I mean? He hits it. Now, let's say, or he crosses rather, right? B to B. Now let's say if it's a twins look, and we're walked out and there ain't no threat over there, right? There's a lot of merit for them. It's just not, I don't have to worry about that B because he ain't covered down. That's when the 2 press slide, you know what I mean? So now he's B gap here. So he reads the guard. If the guard works this way, right, and slide, he's going to that B. That's why there's got to be some, the way we do it, there's got to be some awareness. Are they slide or are they fan? You know what I mean? Right? If he blocks down like this, they're sliding over here, then that B gap's big. All right, if it's wizard, then we're saying 2 by 2 is going to play out the same. Then the only difference is in 3 by 1, we're going to rush the B. And 2 by 2, we're going to rush the B. So let's say it's this. And so the language then on the motions and everything, we go from tight to Roy and Lee. So Roy is right, Lee is left. So we've changed it on all the motions. When we've played Wizard, like 2 years ago when we played Wizard, like I remember sitting up in the office and everything and detailing everything, and I'm going, you know what, I'm nervous about them. Because at Wisconsin, it was the same thing, to be honest. The same thing happened. I'm nervous about them making the change, you know? So I'm thinking, hey man, if it's really quick, let's just play it and we'll just make it work and all that. With the, you know, if it's Roy and your motions to a tight, let's just play it and we'll survive, we'll be good. Well, when we get to practice and everything, the kids are saying Roy to tight to Lee. And they're just rolling with it, right? And so we just say, oh, and the honest truth is that we're kind of, okay, all right, let's do that. You know what I mean? So that's how it happened in both spots, okay? So when they're tied in with the front, so that we would go from Roy and Lee to tight. And so like if it was like this would be a Lee call. And so what that would, the B over here is your contained rusher, and then we're still playing run, but now they're going to work away from the Lee. So this was your 2-way go. This guy was, right? And then this was your contained play, okay? Your nose over here would work to balance the rush, right? So we'd work like that. Okay, but this gave you the ability to get some rush at the snap. And then the other thing you could do off of that when you're running Wizard is run pop. And so now pop would just be, because you're going to get the fan, right? Whether they are sliding it or fanning it, right? You're going to get a fan over here. So you're going to get that. And so it's best when it's fan dual because we're saying he's 1-on-1 and it's 2-on-2 over here. So now what you're getting is, hey, if you get a fan set to you, come underneath. Right? He pushes up, he's contained. If you get a down block, right? If the tackle blocked down on the end would work in the B gap, and the B would stay outside. But if you got a fan, you would exchange it. So we did this at Wisconsin quite a bit, right? We would pop it, okay? And a lot of times we try to tag it, 2nd and long, 2nd and 10, those types of things. It would be tag pop. Catch some draws and help with some screens. Does that answer your question though, with Wizard and all that? Yeah, so the issue with Wizard is even though we can feel good about the motions and feel good about adjusting to it, when it comes down to it, I'd rather not do it. I'd rather, if they're doing all this type of stuff, I'd rather just stay. You know what I mean? And that way we know what we got. The other thing about tight would be if they were to motion formation sideline, so say it's 2 by 2, and they're going to motion into the boundary 3 by 1, then the MAC would be the rusher. The MAC became the rover, and the rover became the MAC. You guys see what I'm saying? So the MAC would rush, and the rover would drop off a 3. So like say it's 2 by 2, and the field's this way, and they're fly motioning this way. We're going to bump on over, and it's going to be this, and he pulls it, the MAC rushes, and the rover drops off a 3. And so they're going to learn it from MI0, MI50. You know what I mean? So if you're 50, you're on 3. If you're a 0, you're rushing. That's how they talk. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for your attention.
All us over 50 get to go first.
Yeah, man.
Hey guys, the food's ready. We just come out here and grab it. You can just come back in here. There's, sit down and eat, and then we'll start after everybody's done. And Coach Woody, do you have, right?
I think they were going to switch. You guys were switching, right? Isn't Brown, aren't you going first?
Say it again,
Are
sorry.
you talking on red zone today?
Yes.
Y'all are switching, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what y'all said? You're going to talk red zone today because you're going to be here tomorrow.
Correct.
Yes. We got dinner now. You guys can go eat. We got food out here. You can go eat and then come back.
Real strong. I like that safety pattern. You know, real strong. You run there up there. You got necessarily have to line up over there, I guess.
Yeah, he's tracing.
He's tracing.
It's like 3 to fit in where you can post it.
I like how they cover 4 too. They're getting post help.
Yeah.
To the backside. You know what I'm saying? When they walk out of it too.
Yeah.
Pretty cool too. I think.
Everybody would get one on that.
Anyway goes. That's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.